Yeah, it's
Like her mother.
you can't even. I mean, you can't even have the word shit in your title anymore. Like if you had to do an album, you can't even call it something shit.
How about the other one? The one that followed that was Bicentennial Nigger.
It's right. It's right. It's right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a little
fucking-
sun drenched. Where was that before it was in this garage, man?
Oh yeah, that I don't know. We found that. This, you know, what's so funny? This was a birthday present someone gave me. Was these? They got them at like
the red pop.
at like it's one of those like restoration hardwares, and they just did that, like grabbed them and framed them all for me.
Right.
And it was such a great present. Andy Griffith's really good. You remember? You ever listen to him?
He was good.
Yeah, he was. It was like a legit storyteller.
Yeah.
A little campy, but for
Yeah.
like when he did it,
Yeah.
very like next level in my
He's a
opinion.
neighbor of yours around here.
He was.
Yeah, he lived right here for decades.
Did you
You
grow?
know who lives on Addison's? Be Real.
No.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, for years.
Really?
I don't know if he's still here, but from
Okay, yeah.
Cypress Hill.
Hello, one,
Yeah,
two,
yeah,
three,
yeah.
four.
Right here.
Shut the fuck
Corolla
up.
had a house on Addison.
Corolla grew up on Addison. He drove me home one time.
Well, but he bought one. His party house was here too,
Are you shitting me?
and he and Be Real is like right across the street. Yeah,
Wow, I didn't know.
I think it was further towards that end, North Hollywood. I never dug Red Fox. Never got him. I liked the TV show and stuff, Sanford and Son, but I just didn't like his comedy. I still don't like it. When I'm listening to the comedy channels, he comes up, I change it.
I'll tell you who I really, really fell in love with, but it was after a while. But I rediscovered in a way was Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh, yeah, always.
He'd destroy.
Dude, murder, murder.
Right?
He was. I listened to him doing it was probably like a 15-minute set, and it was
Yeah, I'm
just
saying, like, it
one
seemed like
after
an
another.
hour.
The funniest thing is when he was destroying on Carson.
Yeah.
And after just killing Carson, everyone in the room, he finally goes, "Okay, we done here?
Yeah.
We keep going."
He was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Blistering.
Are we
What's that? Yeah.
recording? Okay,
We're
good.
recording. I like the
Yeah.
slow roll into a record.
Slow roll into the podcast.
What's that? Advil?
No, it's nicotine gum.
Nicorette gum, dude.
Really?
What's wrong with that?
Oh, I've been thinking about taking up Nicorette.
No, you know
Make you
what?
lose some weight.
Greatest
Really?
side effect is appetite suppressant, baby.
Shut up. Someone told me they gave me a Nicorette pen, and they said that nicotine immediately instills creativity when you take a hit.
Nicotine is not a bad drug.
Oh, I like
neither
that.
is a-
This is how we start off.
Neither
This
is
is it, right here.
neither
Dr.
is
Drew, out of the
caffeine.
mouth of Dr. Drew.
Caffeine and I mean, look, we live in a world when people are trying to supplement and give neuro this and neuro that. I mean, there are things that it's just if it becomes extra physiological or intoxicate, then there's a price. Then there'll be a price.
Really?
That's what you found out lately, right? That's what Joe Rogan found out. Mike Catherine and I were shocked to hear that conversation you guys had about how great you were feeling.
Oh yeah.
Rogan, I never thought I'd heard him say anything other than pot is only enhancing.
Oh, about the benefits of not smoking pot.
I was shocked to hear him to admit that I'm a little clearer. How about
He's
that?
actually thinking about taking breaks every other month so that he can.
That's smart.
Enjoy it.
That's smart, yeah.
I tell you what, I have had a real blast not drinking and doing drugs. That sounds silly. I wish it was better. Like I wish that I don't know if I had hit a bottom, I would have. I don't know if that whatever happened was my bottom. I don't know if that would have. If I've gotten enough reward out of it to stay sober. If I was supposed I'll tell you what really scared me.
You haven't.
Someone told me one day at a time. Some AA guy who's like. He was like, "Hey man, I'm really proud of you. Just one day at a time." And I was like, "No, 31 days, and then I'm done."
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I could do one day. One day at a time gave me panic, like legit panic.
I think that's the positive affirmation of staying sober tends not to be so indefinite.
Anything that's a slogan is gross and stupid. Let's just face it. Nobody likes
you.
it. The fact is, we don't
Bob's
know.
in a
Like,
mood.
look at Tom Petty a couple weeks ago. He was
Yeah.
just sitting somewhere doing a podcast, and he's dead.
Yeah.
So none of us know where we're going to be or what's going to happen. We live in the illusion of control.
Oh man,
and permanence.
You become a stoic right under my eyes.
Not really.
The Stoics
and it's
have
just ridiculous.
They call memoriomentum, I think they call it, which is remember you could be taken from this life any second.
And I've known that since I got sober. Like
Yeah.
every day is like rad, and I could have died all those years.
Yeah.
Now it's just like, I don't care, one day at a time. People love slogans. Listen, let me tell you something, Bert. most people are weak-willed and feeble-minded.
Oh my God, who is this guy?
So if they need slogans, or brands or whatever, fine. I don't need them.
Yeah. I do.
I live in the hours that I live.
Yeah, I don't.
Are you well? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure you're not telling us something like there's a clock running or something.
No.
You
I got
okay?
a cold, and of course, I think I'm dying of cancer.
Oh, that's right. Bob had a near-death experience in his mind, even though he just had a regular old
I had
asthma attack.
pneumonia, and I kept going to urgent care. So then I felt like I was dying. I made my will out.
He's writing these gigantic manifestos on Facebook about how the healthcare system sucks, and I'm like, Bob, you need a doctor.
Yeah,
I don't like doctors.
you know what I found myself doing? I was at my cardiologist, and he was like,
you have a separate guy that looks after your heart.
"Oh, that's gonna help. That's gonna kill me." That's the one meeting I had with all my doctors where they're like, "What is it? Cancer? Heart disease? How are you going out?" And I was like, both my grandfathers died of strokes. They're like, "Oh, you're gonna have a stroke." I was like, "What?" And they're like, "That's how it works. You fall into one of the
Genetics.
Blinko categories."
Well, but you can control some of that stuff. Then you got to figure out what's under that. What did they not? What would they have died from had they not died from the strokes?
So you're a comedian. Yeah. Get this. How many people have died during the stress test for the heart thing?
No.
Come on.
There's got to be.
No.
I was in good shape when I had mine.
I've had people have cardiac events.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Then you get them. You get right on it and you take care of it.
Yeah, but people don't act like that in their normal daily living. They're just going slowly through life, and then all of a sudden, you guys got them running on a treadmill.
Oh my God, what happened to Bob? Who took Bob's brain?
By the way, this is the brain. Like, there is a part of what I'm doing in this Sober October that has been extremely unhealthy. Like, where I recognize it and I go, like, I know for a fact the one thing where you go, I'm smarter than AA, that's like an addict's brain.
Yeah.
I got that. I got that thing.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely I got that. And then the other thing is, I wonder if you ever felt this, Bob. Like, I was on a plane and this kid was like, I was with another comic, was behind me, and I said, "Yeah, I'm not drinking, and I drink when I fly, so keep me honest," as a joke or whatever.
Yeah.
And this kid's like, you have a drinking problem? And I go, "Oh no, I always drink when I fly." And he goes, "I had to go to rehab for, I think it was Magic the Gathering, like a video game." He was like, "It was eating up my life," and I was like, "Really?" He was like, "Yeah, I had to like go to rehab for it." And immediately I got the hotel room that night and I was like, I should look up Magic the Gathering. I was like, I bet if it's rehab worthy, it's got to be good.
Did you play it?
No, it's a card game. And I was like, oh, you got to get and I was like, you need 2 other players, I think.
Hey, I'm sitting here staring at all these comedy albums on your wall, and I'm not sure if I emphasized this enough when we were talking about it a minute ago. Of all the ones up there, and you got a bunch of very, very fun, best, and we both talked about how we, Rodney killed, but the one that I really believe is going to stand up as poetry, almost like Homer, is Pryor. It's eternal. When you hear it now, it's a lot of stuff you go, oh, it's a little dated. His stuff just stands.
Yeah,
it's like a poet. Like it's really like modern poetry.
He had that effortlessness that Dave Chappelle has, that I think only black comics can have, like an effortlessness.
That's a racist statement.
If you're white and you're not writing shit into a notebook, people go, he's not working hard enough. But they don't expect black comics to be writing anything down. They expect him to get up and be. And I think
so. It's a sort of a jazz talent almost.
Yeah. Jay-Z doesn't write lyrics down.
Right.
Like he remembers them all.
Right.
And so I think in a weird way, and I think there's a lot of that cross, like almost like Jerry Seinfeld said, if you don't look at this, I'm paraphrasing obviously, but if you don't look at this the same way a guy looks at a construction job, then you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
So then all comics are like, well, shit, if you don't have a notebook or then you're not doing it right. And I think I've always fallen in more of the Pryor thing of like,
oh my God. You're a storyteller. Yeah. But Pryor's
it's about making people laugh and making people think. That's what the best comedy is. Make them laugh, and then right after they're done laughing, they're thinking.
Well, something deep about the human experience, right? That's what you should be thinking about.
That my thing, comedy's been my thing since I was a kid.
Yeah. Really?
So.
We talked about this last time.
Did
we?
Yeah.
And there are comedians that I laugh at, but I don't ever think
I do
twice
remember
about
this now.
what they said. It's
Yeah.
not deep. It's not revelatory. Richard Pryor was able to make white people look at their relationship to black people, and black people look at their relationships to each other, and black people's relationships to white people. There's not many people that can figure out how to do that.
Did you hear Seinfeld on Stern?
No.
He was only a couple weeks ago. His Asperger's is bad. He talked about what he was like in high school and stuff. I'm like, oh my god, that's full on.
I heard
Asperger's.
I heard him say he had Asperger's. What is?
Full on.
What is it?
It's a kind of, it comes
High
off,
functioning autism is the easiest way to understand.
it comes off
Really?
as social awkwardness. In its core, it's an inability to read social cues.
A lot of musicians have it.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I've heard so many stories about him being unable to read social cues.
And he said he did in high school. He goes, Stern was like, "Didn't you want to get laid? Didn't you have any girlfriends?" He's like, "No, that was those people. I watched TV. I was fine. I didn't want people. Why did I want? I just me and my television. That's all." I was like, "Oh my god, that's severe."
For real.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. And that's something.
Yeah, I always thought I was on some sort of spectrum, but I think I'm
No,
more
you're
like-
the ADD thing.
I got the ADD, OCD,
Yeah.
paranoia, like anxiety.
You said your daughter's got the same kind of thing too. One of
she's
your
got
daughters.
Isla, the one you met, is
Just now.
a mess. Yeah.
She's not a mess.
She's a mess, Drew.
Well, it's because you talk about her all the
You
time.
know,
I don't worry. I've definitely thought about that. I've definitely thought that I fucking ruined
I can
this.
chime in here. She's a mess because she lives in this house in this world in
Yeah.
Southern California, right down the street from neighborhood school. Is that where you guys go?
Yeah, she goes to the schools right here.
That's
What's
where
wrong
my
with
kids went.
What's wrong with that? That's where Corolla went. I saw North Hollywood High. I'm like, there it is.
All of a sudden, by the time all these kids, all of a sudden, by the time they're 13, they have 3 therapists, and you're going to therapist sessions, and the kids have
Oh my God,
anxiety.
Bob, are you?
That doesn't happen in South Central Los Angeles.
No, it does not.
No.
I'll tell you what. This is a funny story that I witnessed. My girls played softball. They've been playing softball, but obviously it's a neighborhood softball team. So they go and play one up in Sylmar or
Sylmar,
way up in the
Got
hills.
their asses kicked, did they?
Well, yeah. What it was a Mexican team, not predominantly, entirely Mexican. And because they've got a Mexican coach who obviously wants to play the game to win, he's got them stealing. He's got them when they get walked. The second they're first,
They keep going.
They just run to third.
Yeah.
And so it really takes the fun out of the game.
Yeah.
And so they're stealing every base. If the ball's passed, like what they're doing also is he's just run. And then our girls will throw it and then obviously make an error.
Yeah.
And then everyone just clears bases. So 5 people get up to bat, 5 people score, and then the next inning. So it's really aggressive. And one of my daughters, I won't say which one because I don't want to blame either. One of my daughters gets in the car and is like looking out the window. I go, "What's the matter, baby?" She's like, "I don't think I like Mexicans."
Oh, no.
I'm like, "No." I go, "You don't like poor people. Like poor people is who you dislike because they need like those girls. They don't have the luxury of having college funds and like best case scenario, one of them gets a scholarship and they go to Arizona State and they pay for their like they have struggle in their life. Their dads have struggle. They know like there's not this like
Is the plan here for your family to become religious and go to Campbell Hall?
Oh no!
Oh yeah, it is.
No,
Wait,
can I
why
tell you-
religious? Campbell
Because
Hall's-
it's a religious
No,
school.
it is not.
Yes, it
Is
is.
it? Is it?
Yes, it is.
Bob. My kids played football against it. I went there and spoke several times. Trust me, there's zero. It's a college prep school.
I know, but it's a religious school.
No, that was left behind long.
Can I tell you-
ago.
Yeah,
Can I
left
tell you the
behind. What
opposite
does
of
that
this?
mean? What does left behind mean?
Zero remnants.
It means not as
Zero.
revenue generating.
What?
That's right. It was founded, I don't want to get into it. It was founded as a religious school. It became the leading Valley for-profit private
school.
prep
Yeah,
school,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It is $40,000 a year
Yeah.
for a child to go there.
Right.
To
It's
go
expensive.
to high school.
I'm not sure it's 40, but that's the
I
kind
don't know
of
what I don't know what it is, but I know it's definitely
crazy.
over 15.
Yeah.
But this
Catholic
is the,
schools are
This
15.
is the madness that we've grown accustomed to in Los Angeles.
Because the LA Unified blows so badly that
They
it's
are.
abusive to send your kids to some of these schools.
But then that's when the playing field isn't equal for the kids in Sylmar.
So I 100% agree with you. So our politicians should be solving our educational problem. They never do it. I don't understand why. They throw money at it. They cannot solve it. I don't understand why.
I just...
So where are you kids going to go to school? You must have the whole thing planned out if you live here.
It's a very interesting conversation. Considering our high school is North Hollywood High.
Yeah. By the way, like I said, I've heard about it for so many years from Corolla and
he went to school there.
And those guys, I drove past it just down the way to your house. I'm like, oh my God, there's the mythical land of North Hollywood High.
It is predominantly Mexican. And then there's another one. I want to say the name of this school is like Cleveland.
Yeah, Cleveland.
Okay, so this is what Cleveland does. And by the way, I guess I have to do some disclaimer or something saying this is hearsay or whatever, just so that I don't get sued.
Yeah.
But like this is, I didn't hear. I wasn't at the meeting.
You've heard this.
I've heard this. What they do is they have these active programs where all the white kids sit on the floor and all the kids of color stand on seats and yell at them so that white kids know oppression. And then
where is this at a school
Cleveland?
out here?
This is at Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
And then the next semester, all the boys sit on the ground and all the girls yell at them so they know oppression. And that's where liberalism has taken the school. However, that is the high achieving kids do that. They aren't part of the what they call possibly. I know that this is what they called it. At the meeting,
Look at how careful you're.
Well, I'm sure there's people that are kids are going there and they're like, whoa. I'd rather them hear it and then research it. But then what the other opportunity is the Gen Pop. That's what they call it. That's what they call it at all these schools. Gen Pop.
It sounds like a prison.
It's very
exactly.
Much.
Every school here has the high achieving programs where all the white people's kids with money goes.
Well, there's the one over here, the journalism school is the hardest school to get into. The guy that was killed in Afghanistan or whatever. There's a journalism school right here at the next block up. It's inside that big school.
Yeah, but they have Gen Pops. They're all the other kids. Like, not sadly, but Isla, my youngest, I think, is in Gen Pop. She can roll like that. Georgia is not. She is in the humanities honors program, and those honors programs are really great. But the Gen Pop isn't. Now, it's
good to hear they've got an honors program that they can bring kids along at least. Okay,
yeah.
That's
100%.
My overall theory is this, and I knew that you would have the same things that I had when I lived here.
Yeah.
L.A. has become...
You lived in North Hollywood?
No, I lived in Laurel Canyon, and my kid went here to neighborhood school, so I know this area like the back of my hand. I know the yogurt shop and the Starbucks, and so L.A. has become the joke of elitism that New York was in the 70s.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's exactly what's happened. And New York is more like a town now.
Yeah.
And we're the neurotic nutcases that actually Woody Allen used to make fun of and kind of exemplify to America, right? And expose. We've become that. Before our children are born, we're wondering what preschool they're going to go to. So they're not in with these people, but we don't use words like those people. It's just a nutcase
That's
world.
what drove me
That's why I've left Los Angeles.
We went to Leanne is the most liberal person in the world. All her friends are the most liberal people in the world. They are hardcore anti-Trump, anti-racism, anti-all that. We go to one football game at Hollywood High, and literally all of them, like a bunch of tiki torturers, were like, "Our kids aren't going here." And I was like, "Why?"
That's what I was trying to point out about the Campbell Hall. You would pay $40,000 for your kid to go to high school.
Yeah.
Then just have them learn how to get along with people, maybe not the same as them.
Yeah, I think
that's
there's
what's
probably
happened to our
something.
school system.
There's probably something very valuable for interacting with people of all races and colors, but and by the way, this is what is frustrating is that I'm not saying I'm like I definitely when Leanne's like I think she's just gonna go to North Hollywood High. I was like are you sure? Like, and she's like, they got a great zoo magnet, and I was like, yeah, but I mean that's what the world is. My kids will go to school to become a zoo magnet. Who decides now that they're going to be zoologists?
A zoo magnet.
They got a really great zoo magnet.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, well, yeah. North Hollywood High's got the best zoo magnet.
See, because we can't just keep blaming the politicians, because we're the people. And if we choose to take our children, have them in elite schools where they don't ever come, when my son was over here, and I love Gail and I love that school. There was one African American kid. His parents were English and produced a famous TV show. That's not reality for our children to grow up in. So we've cornered ourselves in this old uber liberal kind of elitism that's a joke.
It's hubris.
It's a joke to the regular.
Yeah.
It's a joke to the regular America, and I think that's
they
what
see the hubris. They're like, they don't like people telling them how to live, how to be progressive if they're not living it themselves.
Yeah.
People see that and they just go, "Wha-" Look at Weinstein. Do you know what his main defense was when the story started to break?
everybody does this.
No, there was that. But he said, "Hey, you need me. I'm gonna spend money to attack the NRA. Don't get rid of me. I'm gonna get the NRA." It's like, no, you don't get to take a progressive position and then do whatever you want.
Well,
I think I'm afraid.
let's get into it. You want to just dive right into it?
Yeah.
Because I love this subject and I've been talking about it. So Tobic is the next one.
Yeah.
There's a bunch more coming.
Yeah.
And this is mob rule. These people have not been charged with anything. I'm not defending them, but we cannot be a country, especially the progressive elite educated people, cannot become a mob mentality.
What cannot become? We're already there. We're already there.
But here's my thing. So and I have a pet peeve about this.
Is this what your podcast is about?
It's about whatever.
No,
it's
no,
about
but-
whatever we want to
but
talk
here's-
about.
It's the last time we had more fun.
No, I like this.
But listen. So
By the way, right now there's
Me
a bunch
Too.
of people going, "Yeah, pick this scab." I can't wait to hear it.
So the Me Too, right?
I thought we were talking about you and Rogan and Sober
everybody
October.
has
and-
compassion.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Everybody has compassion for Me Too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But what America doesn't want to understand is if there's 2 million Me Too's, that means 2 million of
what's
our
Me Too?
fathers,
Me
our
Too's a
uncles.
Oh,
Our uncles, our
Bob,
fathers,
Bob.
our brothers, and our sons have done that to women.
Me Too is the hashtag where women can use the hashtag, speak up, and say they've been sexually harassed, sexually assaulted.
Listen,
raped,
how about in
whatever.
Sacramento? They have that hashtag, we've said enough. And there's a law in Sacramento, something to the effect of if they accuse someone, they're not allowed to name who it is. It becomes confidential. And I'm like, change that law. I want names because
I want names too.
It's pervasive in Sacramento.
But we are a society that has sick relations between men and women. Obviously,
I said to someone the other day, they were talking about they released the shittiest men in media list.
I'd like to see that one.
I got it on my phone. And so they
do you know some of them?
3 of them are my best friends.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? Because
3 of them are my three of my favorite people in the world.
What'd they do?
They are 2 of them are rape sympathizers, rapist sympathizers,
Allegedly.
and they gave a platform to a racist or to a rapist. One of them, I'm not going to say anyone's names, but I think everyone can guess one of their names really quick. But he was a guy that defended a guy who the mob mentality was coming after. The UCB happened where it said this guy's been raping girls, and they started a thing on Facebook about this guy, and he said, "Hold on, no, you can't
be judge and jury.
Yeah, you can't be judge and jury.
Yeah,
someone go and that's what his whole thing was. And then he got convoluted in that and started fighting with them independently.
Yeah.
And so he made the list.
Oh,
God. And his buddy's got a podcast with him. He made the list because he's friends with him.
Oh,
and then
my God.
another guy made the list. And then the other guy, everyone knows about this, made the list that they're after next. I won't say his name, but there's another comedian that it's very clear everyone that he's the next on the list. And that will come out very soon. I won't say his name because I don't know anything. I wasn't in any rooms. I don't know what happened.
So instead of
the mob mentality,
instead of killing the intellectuals, we're just going to kill all the comedians. That's going to be the U.S. version.
But what I said is, the
Cultural Revolution.
I said, hey, I'm cool with you draining the swamp. I'm cool with you, but realize your brothers and fathers
are the ones. Yes.
and all your friends are going to be in that because, like, I've never sexually harassed anyone to my knowledge. I'm sure I've said inappropriate shit, worked with people and said inappropriate shit. Maybe they didn't say it to me. Maybe I don't even remember it. Maybe I was drunk. I did 7 years on the road with a group of 11 people where we spent every waking minute together for 11 days at a time or 14 days at a time.
Was there a woman in the group?
One, yeah. Stacy. I mean, I'd hope Stacy would reach out to me first, but but she's one of my best friends. And I've never... I'm going
to bet that she experienced some things you had no idea.
I'm certain she did. Yeah. I'm certain she did.
And
this may not be at your hands, but I bet the women have to be subjected to stuff that men doesn't even register for men sometimes.
Wouldn't even fucking like.
But that's why I like this.
Hopefully, all this is leading to dialogue.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's dialogue in my house amongst my friends.
Yeah.
That this is something that America. Are you really ready for this? We're barely functioning as it is, do we really want to get into that most people's brothers, sons, uncles, and dads have sexually harassed women?
Yeah.
Because if we have this many victims, you have that many perpetrators. Harvey Weinstein didn't do them all.
One of the guys was a guy that just gave me a job, and he got fired from his Nickelodeon show. Just give me a job. I know his family, went to school with his family. I'm friends with his whole family. Really nice guy. And he got accused from 15 years ago when he didn't even have kids, and he lost his job at Nickelodeon. I mean, I'm sure, by the way, I read only half the article because as soon as I saw it, I was like, fuck. In my head, I was like, now, granted, I feel horrible for any of the women. I don't know what his charges were.
Yeah.
I don't know what his charges were, so they don't really talk about that. All it says is sexual harassment. I can't imagine if he was being a predator towards women, what it must have been like to be that woman working with him. But at the same time, I go, God damn it, what's his family doing? Like, but I felt that way when Steve Renazizi got caught up lying about 9/11. That night, do you remember that?
Yeah.
No.
Comedian said he was in one of the towers when the plane hit. He was having a cigarette, and that's why he got into comedy.
Yeah.
And then he got very famous. He started doing really big work, and then it came out that he was lying about 9/11. And all I thought as I put my kids to bed that night was like, fuck, they can take it away.
Well, it really is like the terror in France in 1890, right?
No, I don't know what that is. Please tell me what you're talking about.
They cut off people's heads.
The guillotine.
Oh, yeah.
But that's what that
You're
was.
familiar
Those
with that
Those
French
mobs
part.
that would say you, and then those people would get turned on by it would just be the mob eating itself all the time. I thought interesting the poor Lisa Bloom and poor Kathy Griffin. I feel bad for both of them. You seen that mess?
Lisa Bloom.
The
lawyer.
Did you see what happened today with them?
No.
Oh, dude.
Oh, shit.
Well, Kathy's been
posted
going
some-
after her pretty hard.
Kathy posted some terrible stuff, and then Lisa tried to defend herself, and it was just, I feel bad for both of them. I don't know what to
But
say
that's
about
the
that.
I want to be honest with you. That when I read those tweets,
Yeah.
that's the second time we've heard that in 3 weeks. If you pick your brain
About
the outrageous charges,
The
outrageous financial charges.
Oh,
of
yeah,
that,
yeah.
That
That's what
mom
Kathy
and
was
pop
complaining
shop.
about, her having to pay a lot and the whole thing sort of blowing up.
But we heard that from
We're
another
talking about,
victim.
Lisa Bloom represented Kathy Griffin when she held the head of Trump up, the decapitated head.
Okay.
And apparently Kathy went off script almost entirely, and Lisa charged her for her services and for setting up the press conference and everything. And because the whole thing blew up and didn't work, Kathy's blaming Lisa Bloom. So,
But so the whole thing is a mess. And what's the good that's going to come out of it? I think, we were talking about this the other day. Is it going to be more and more bad? Are we going to go deeper into the darkness of the American soul until we come out of it? Or are we starting to come out of it and more rational minds will prevail? I think this newest thing of what happened to Harvey Weinstein, what's happened to Toback, and what's to come
They just fired
is a sign that
another
we are
guy.
going deeper into the darkness.
We just fired. But how about this? I'll play devil's advocate.
And you're the comedian, so you should be making us all laugh at this point.
Well, I made a joke that did not go over very well about David Blaine's rape. You heard they say that apparently
He did?
allegedly David Blaine roofied a girl.
uh-oh.
And
Oh, my God.
my joke was, with his skill set, it had to be remarkable to watch.
Nobody laughed. It's
Like
dead.
no one laughed. And then
Well, there's this universal moral outrage stuff. Right?
What if people stop laughing?
I don't think the people coming to my shows.
But
aren't-
nothing that you can't make fun of anything anymore. I think that might be another limiting thing. Is there? I watched the last Chappelle show. Like there's certain points where there's no laughter. And
Could you imagine, remember what was his name? The
That's
guy from
what
Seinfeld that did that horrible
Michael Richards.
What if he had done that today? He would have been like arrested.
I don't know. It might maybe I don't know.
And that
Part of
was
me
only
thinks-
3
part of
or
me
4
thinks-
years ago.
Part of me thinks if you're Michael
He
Richards,
might have been vice
I'd rather do
president.
it now. I'd rather do it now because something's right around the corner. It's like the guy who came out against. There was some guy senator that came out against gay rights, and then turns out he was gay, and then the next day was a Harvey Weinstein thing, and he had to be like, that was a close call. Everyone was about to know I blew dudes, and now here I am. Thank you, everybody. But like, I think it's good that guys like Harvey. I can say this: I've never raped anybody, thankfully. But I've only had sex with 6 people, so I don't have that gene, that sexy gene that
Yeah.
a rapist would have, where they're like,
You're a serial monogamist, I'll bet.
Sexy Gene.
the thing where like a rapist
Are
would be
you?
like, hardcore. I'm not good at sex. I have a hard time turning it off. Like, so Like, I was in one threesome one time that went uncomfortable and I felt guilty. Oof. But it was a threesome. There were 2 girls and I still felt like that was awkward. I feel like I should apologize to those girls. Yeah. No one even had an orgasm, but still, that was part of the reason I felt guilty. And so
part of the reason
I was such a bad fucking threesome. Anyway, but like
you were probably intoxicated.
Like we were all very intoxicated.
Shocking.
Are there threesomes that happen that people aren't intoxicated?
Right. No. That's why I never can imagine that if I was single, I would not be sober. Huh. Like I look at fucking Chris D'Elia and I go, how do you have your threesome sober? Anyway, but like I feel like as someone who I don't have that thing, I could never leverage. I have a hard time with conversation.
You're not a big sex guy.
I'm not a big sex guy.
Yeah.
And so I look at guys like Harvey Weinstein and I go, well, good. I'm glad that they got rid of the guy. I can't fathom jerking off in front of a person into a potted plant. I can't.
It's
why is that? It's so weird. There's so many things that have been sort of brought up lately that are behaviors that are I can't understand them. A lot of the stuff that really
was rubbing up on girls' legs until he came. Did you realize how uncomfortable that is?
Yeah, I mean,
that is really in Kinko's and stuff like that.
In Kinko's,
yeah, that's all the different places he would just try to hit on girls and stuff.
I didn't even like really crazy that much.
So now it's going to come out, and we should be able to. You and your comedian friend should be able to poke fun at it, and we all should laugh. And in that laughter comes an understanding. But I think that it's not even okay to laugh anymore at certain things.
Oh, they're not. There are people. A perfect example. David Cross. Did you guys see what happened to him?
I heard about it.
He got in trouble for what he said was a joke. It was a little bit of a fucked up joke if it was a joke. But
people have been saying fucked up jokes for decades.
That was the whole point of jokes.
Them.
Yeah, it was. He was. Look, I would never blame. And by the way, I don't think David Cross is a racist at all. I don't think he's even remotely close to a racist. His wife is a social justice warrior.
Yeah,
Amber Tamberlin is the one who's been at the front of the Me Too thing. She's on NPR every other day. Yeah. She's going out and doing press for these rapes.
And she's married to a rapist?
No. He met an Asian chick.
A racist. See, it's so hard.
Which one do you want to be, racist or rapist? I'm going racist.
Yeah. Really?
Pick your lane. Oh, yeah. I can definitely, as long as white people accept me. Wait, I have a theory about this that I want to run by you guys. Right. But he met Michael Cera's girlfriend, who's a comedian. She's Asian. You've probably seen her in a couple movies. She's a pretty famous actor, but she wasn't at the time. And he made something fun of her jeans, and then said, "Ching chong, speak English or whatever." And then he was like, "Oh, did I just make you mad? Are we gonna karate fight?" It's
this is David Cross.
Yeah, David Cross. It's something, by the way,
dumb stuff. It's dumb
stuff. And probably drinking at a bar, trying to make light of it. By the way, well in the spectrum of anything I would do. Like I'm not.
Well, it wasn't on stage?
No, it was him and hanging out.
Well, as long as we're trying to raise awarenesses. I mean, the Ching Chong Ching is deeply offensive to Chinese Americans, and so he hit the wrong chord. I mean, that's a problem.
But she came out and slammed him on Twitter and said he's a racist. Hopefully he's better. You'd think he'd know better. And then he came out and was like, I don't know. I don't remember this, for one. Number two, if I did do it, I must have been doing my racist character that does this. I was doing
not only that. What I don't like about all this is like let's say he came on and said, "Geez, thank you for telling. I had no idea. I've deeply.
I'm sorry.
I'm not just sorry. I'm mortified, and it will never happen again. You can't do that.
No,
you just have to be your head chopped off. Goodbye. You're dead. Yeah. You're dead. You're gone. That's the part I don't like about this. People need to learn and grow. How the hell are we gonna? If this is what change is, we need to all change.
To get to the point of comedians, Chappelle stood there in the face of silence. And just kept going kept going on that beat,
He's
that
untouchable.
bit.
He's untouchable.
He can say things that...
Okay.
Well...
You ready for this? You ready for my theory?
Yeah.
This is my theory.
Okay.
This is half-cocked. I know I've said some fucked up things on this podcast.
So this is going to be the worst?
Might be. It might be.
Oh, thanks for doing it
because he's so stoned he can get away with it? And you're trying to promote your own stone?
Here's it, Bob. We're going to be held responsible for not killing him or taking him on or somehow saying something to whatever he's about to say.
It's going to be a pro-pot thing, I think.
Whatever it's going to be, we're in trouble too because there's no way we could respond well enough in people's minds.
We would have to walk out as soon as he says it, right? What is the right thing to do when he says the most offensive thing?
I don't know because Maybe that's the problem.
I know how I want to start it now. I want to start it so that if it gets grabbed for a screen bite, that is a good thought, Drew. Let me reiterate it. Here's my theory, okay?
Go with it.
Oppressed people take care of their own.
Okay.
White people, because they've felt no oppression, identify with oppression and want to rat people out. So as a white person, you are like R. Kelly. The black community isn't going to go after R. Kelly because they've felt too much oppression from the outside,
right?
And they don't feel like that's their job to go after them.
That's interesting.
I heard a story one time that rabbis were molesting boys in Park Slope or wherever the Jewish community.
That was a big story.
But that they were keeping it inside their own community because of the distrust they had via the Holocaust. They
not just the Holocaust. The Jewish heritage all the way back from the Egyptian stuff is very much that way.
So they were keeping it in their own community. And I think the same thing happened with Michael Jackson and with all these things. And I feel like Dave Chappelle will never get in trouble because he will always have black people behind him, because no matter what he does, they're going, no, he's one of us. We got him.
Well, but aren't the white people afraid of attacking him or criticizing him? In particular, white liberals.
Racist.
White liberals.
Dude,
right?
his last special was extremely dated. I won't say it was homophobic. I won't say he was homophobic or any of that, because I watched it and I understood it. I understood what he was trying to do.
The one in Texas?
Yeah, but it was a little dated in the way you'd refer to a person of transgender as just a tranny or a dude with a dick, or like you just don't speak like that. But Chappelle did it, and by the way, he just was like, yeah, you can go fuck yourself. That's how I talk. And everyone's like, well, he is black. That's what everyone said. I mean, no. Like,
how come Chris Rock doesn't get away with it?
Because he's black. No, Chris Rock gets away with it.
Not as much as Chappelle does.
Black guys go on ESPN and go, I don't know, I just think being gay is a sin. And they don't say a fucking word. Clinton Portis went on TV and said, ain't nothing but a dog fight. Like, there is a wholehearted
double
standard when it comes to what you say versus now. By the way, Donald Trump's gotten away with all of this, so I'm wrong. You can pick apart this theory, but I have noticed that, like, you see a difference. Like, hip hop still talks horrifically about women, and by the way, this is also part of this statement, and it's coming out, and I'm going to say it, but I noticed that not a lot of black chicks are coming out and saying they've been sexually harassed. It's a lot of white chicks. Now the one girl said she was raped by Harvey Weinstein, was a French actress who was back, Lupita. Yeah. But it's like, I've noticed that, like, no one on Empire has been sexually harassed, which by the way, if I'm not mistaken, I think that actor had a rape charge on him from a movie he did. That guy who's the lead of Empire. Mm-hmm. Once again, hearsay. I don't know, but I think
so. But let's be honest. Media is controlled by liberals and elitists.
But they're going to go after the Harvey Weinstein.
Only going to go after
the narratives. The narratives that fit for them. Yeah.
I mean, look at a little bit of the double standard.
Let's talk about Toback for a second, because I don't even know what he looked like until today.
Oh, he looks like a creepy Kid Rock. He looks
like a guy in a Peep Show 25-cent lobby.
He's right? He is.
So who would meet him at a Kinko's or at a Starbucks or whatever and have him come up and say, "Hey, baby, I know Robert Downey Jr." and go back to a hotel with him?
Yeah,
me. I've definitely been put in those situations. 100%.
With gay men?
With any kind of, this business is so confusing to navigate from your side. Like, people go, once you get on the other side of the camera, like, I always wanted to be in a room for a casting just to see what it was like to watch someone audition, so I could audition better. But if you're never on that side, you're always doing everything blindly. And so when someone says to you, Elliot Gould asked me to go to dinner one night, and I literally was like, he must be gay. He must want to fuck me. And he was
I'm in.
I call my dad and I go, what do I do? And he goes, eat shit, cash check. You show up. He's like, look, if you can't get Elliot Gould off you, then maybe he deserves to have you. And so I pushed it off. I was like, no, I don't want to go. I didn't say that. I was like, oh, I'm busy. I wish I'm going to be in New York. Oh, I wish. And then finally he's like, are we going to do this or not? And I was like, okay. And so we went, and then we just had dinner. That's all. We just had dinner. And even at the end of dinner, I was like, he's not going to try to kiss me or anything. Like I've been waiting for this. That, and the other thing I noticed is that he drove a car that was less expensive than mine. And I was like, I think I'm blowing through my cash. Yeah, he had like a $13,000 car.
There's a lot of cars out in front. Who are all those cars?
My wife's a redneck.
Cement mixers.
Yeah, my wife's a redneck. But like, I definitely, if they said, hey, James Toback wants to meet you, and I've gone to hotel rooms and I've done coke with guys that had projects that I didn't want to do coke. I didn't want to drink with them, but if the coke is there, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm a party animal. Okay, one little baby line, like I'll like all these girls' stories
for your career,
Every fucking one of these
for
girls,
your children, actually for your children.
I've smoked pot for my children. I have done drugs when I didn't want to do drugs for my career. I'm going to a funeral I don't want to go to tonight.
Now you're pulling the drug counselors out of us right now. Yeah, that is the biggest bullshit. In the world.
No. I have done shots for my career. I have snorted coke for my career. I have done all of it because I can't say no, and I don't want to be the guy that lets them down.
I must scare the shit out of people because I haven't seen any of this stuff.
Oh, Drew, no one's offering you a line of coke to get on your shit. Well, maybe I don't know.
That would maybe James Toback.
No, but I mean, I've never seen any of this stuff. Maybe back in the day in radio, way back in the
Argyle Hotel, back when it was the Argyle, in the penthouse room, with a producer and a writer and a manager. The manager was a girl. She was really attractive. And you take a private elevator up to the penthouse, and we get up, and they're like, "This is before the right around the Oliver Stone deal with the options of my rights of my life to make a movie about me." And they're like, "We love the script, we love everything about it. We just don't have an ending." And they have a mound of coke. Well, what I consider a mound, I think anyone else would be like, "That's not as big as I thought it would be." I was like, "That's a lot of coke." And so I'm doing coke, and with them, they're like, "You do a line, right?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, just peer pressure, but." No backbone, no part of me.
Peer pressure in your late 30s.
I was 27 at the time.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm doing a couple lines, and then I start getting panicked. I'm in the bathroom, and I realize, they're trying to kill me. That's how the end of this.
No, that makes sense to me.
How this movie ends. And
so maybe you jump out the window of the Argyle Hotel.
I just got into the private elevator, went down, and just walked. And I walked, and I ran into Marky Mark, oddly enough, in a Yankees cap. Or maybe it was a Boss cap, but I swear to God, I thought it was a Yankees cap and a wife beater, or not a wife beater, a V-neck white shirt. I walked on him, walking down Sunset. I just walked right past him. I was like, "Marky Mark," and he was like, "Eh," and just kept walking. I was also pretty high, but like I empathize with these women who like Harvey Weinstein goes, "Come to my room." Yeah. I've got whatever that gene is, that no backbone gene where you do stuff you don't want to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What's the worst thing? What's the one thing you did in this career that you didn't want to do, but you did it to get the gig?
I can't think of anything like that.
I guess you're a doctor. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, you could also just be a doctor or not be in this business.
Right. Exactly.
I could point out you did love lines for years and years for free, basically.
Yeah, I did it for free at the end, and I didn't really want to do that, but I did it so everyone else had their job and stuff. I mean, that didn't,
It's a little
He's
different.
a great guy. Isn't he a great guy?
Yeah.
No, he would never say that, but that is badass what he just said.
That is really fucking phenomenal.
Well, here's the folklore.
Driving there 4 nights a week from Pasadena to Culver City for no money.
5 nights a week. It was
Sunday, right?
Yeah,
Sunday,
last
Monday,
couple of years, it was just
5
nothing.
nights a week. I wouldn't even do it for the drive. Fuck those people. They need to get new jobs.
I would have just paid.
I also liked staying in touch with what was going on out there in the world and hearing the stories and stuff. I mean, I enjoyed it.
Bert's trying to take it in right now. Let him take it in.
I tried to get out of doing my own podcast for free. In the early days when this wasn't monetized, I remember being like, "What the fuck am I doing this for?" And it's in my backyard.
It's too low.
I did originally the Love Line for like 10 years for free, but that was 1 night a week.
Yeah,
and that was really just that was interesting and public service different.
Really
but then at the end,
did you listen to it then?
Of course,
that was the greatest.
But then very Bob used to be on it back
Sunday nights.
Yeah,
right?
Sunday night.
I remember. I've been a fan of Love Line for a very long time. My buddy Lorenzo was one that turned me on to it because I didn't grow up out here, and he used to do his runs, his runs to drop off photos at the time Love Line started because he was a photographer, and so he'd be like, "Come on, let's go drop off photos. You can listen to Love Line with me." And I was like, I remember being like, I don't really listen to the radio because I grew up in Florida. Yeah. Like we didn't really have much radio. We had Ron and Ron, that was it.
What part of Florida?
Tampa. And
we were on in Tampa. Thanks.
How old are you?
No.
How old are you?
44.
Did you know Doc Gooden when you were growing up?
Yeah, I didn't know him personally, but yeah.
He's doing great.
Is
back
he?
on track.
Oh, for real?
Back on track.
Good. I just saw him and Daryl Strawberry.
I know. In the 30-30 thing?
Jeez.
Yeah. No, we've been Everything was good.
I was worried he had TB because back when we treated him as celebrity rehab.
As soon as all that other stuff stops, you'd be amazed at how healthy he becomes.
It's amazing how quick your body bounces back when you stop
at
boozing.
44. Yeah, you're about the same age as him.
Oh yeah.
I think he's
a little older. He might be 48.
He's younger than me. I'm 56.
He's a great guy.
He's the greatest guy ever.
Doc Gooden is. I remember him.
So he's from Tampa. You must have heard the legend of Doc Gooden.
I've known Doc Gooden. I know Doc Gooden. I knew his brother, his cousin Gary Sheffield.
Gary Sheffield.
They had
Gary Sheffield's cousin.
Yeah,
the
they
Dodger?
grew up together.
Oh, that's crazy.
And so Doc would come to our baseball field in his red Corvette, and
he got busted in that and beaten by the Tampa police in that Corvette.
Yeah, he would just show up at our field and be like, and we'd be like, "Oh shit, it's Doc Gooden." We'd just all go get autographs. He was older than me, but not by much. He was like 18 years old when he was throwing for the pitching for
Yankees,
for the Mets.
Mets, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I'm amazed at that's been
Tampa
my biggest.
As bad as he describes it growing up, is it just horrible childhood?
My friends are.
If it weren't for baseball, he says it would just be. It was just nothing.
He grew up in a rough area too. He grew up in Hillsborough.
He still loves it there. Still
so
goes
great.
back there. Do you go back there?
Oh fuck yeah!
What the fuck is wrong with people,
Tampa?
Drew?
Oh, I love.
Like if I grew up in a Tampa, Florida, and I describe it like Doc's described it to me, I would never go there ever.
Do you remember what I did?
Life.
I went to get Jessica Sierra out of prison.
Who's Jessica Sierra?
Another girl that was on Celebrity Rehab.
She was our first scene in Celebrity Rehab, and she
ended up in Florida jail.
She was like one of the winners of American Idol or something.
I remember Jessica Sierra.
Yeah, and
she was like she gained a little bit of weight, but
she's
not
a
tons.
blonde girl. And,
yeah.
And she got wasted, relapsed, and tried to blow a cop, and just got all on camera and stuff, and she got arrested.
That's something Bert would do.
And I went down there, and I was just like, I just go.
If you thought it would get you out of the arrest, would you do it?
I've done it, but I wasn't even getting arrested. I was like, hey man, I'm a sucker for guys in uniform.
but listen, because she was like, I'll do anything, let me out of here. I'll do anything for you. Let me do this. And so that was all
I remember this
wasted.
girl. Is she doing okay now?
She's had a couple kids since those days, and last I heard she's doing very well. But I went down there to try to get on it. I'm telling the judge was freaking Yosemite Sam. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was like, son, what you want her to go to some fancy retreat or something? He's like, why should I send? And he goes, honey, child, what were you doing in Ybor City? I was like, what's Ybor City?
What is Ybor City?
I go, what's Ybor
City? Ybor City is the old part of Tampa that the Cubans settled. That is the party central. That's where everyone goes to party.
And he just dressed me down. I'm like, hey, I go, I go, you send this girl to prison. That's the end of Jessica Sierra. I think that's it. This is a chance. You give me a chance to help her. I think we can do something here. And he just was yelling, and it's like Yosemite Sam. I was going to pull out a couple pistols and start waving them around.
So you
it was
grew
crazy.
up there, and you still have fond memories and go back there?
Oh, I love it. But
what do you love about it?
There is a dirtiness of it. There's a real dirtiness to it that like you don't.
What's weird about Tampa is it looks kind of shiny and new on the outside, but just
I've only
underneath,
been there a couple of times. It doesn't have sidewalks in the residential streets, right? There's just lawn and then the road.
No, they've got sidewalks in there, but
is that where Ted Bundy killed a lot of people?
No, that was Gainesville.
That's where I was.
Gainesville and Tallahassee. Yeah. Gainesville does not have sidewalks.
Much like California's
Ted Bundy wouldn't even go to Tampa?
No.
Much like California's 3 or 4 different states, Florida is 3 or 4 different states.
Florida is
southern, middle.
Everything's globally different.
Yeah,
Jacksonville's different than Tallahassee, is different than Gainesville, different than Tampa. Nothing's like Orlando.
Yeah.
And then you go to West Palm. That's like almost like a New Yorky vibe.
And then Miami's different.
Miami's a global community.
And then how about going to Panama City, which is like, what is that? That belongs to Florida,
dude. I never thought drinking and driving was really that illegal growing up. Like it was not uncommon to have to see someone with a beer in their lap driving their car. Like that wasn't a big deal. And I knew it was illegal, but it wasn't like. And I'm even older. Like, but all my friends are either sober, dead, or a mess. Like when you run into one of your friends, you hope he's sober because like the lot of them are just so like drugs were something that was like.
But you know what? Let me say something. You know, we started this conversation lamenting the mob mentality and how the mob is eating itself now. It's no wonder that was the average life of somebody growing up in an average part of the United States. No wonder they became adults with envy and aggression.
Dude,
no wonder.
Envy is what it is.
Yes.
It's like you look on people's
No, but you got people
Instagrams.
pleasing. That's why you're a success. People pleasing is a very underappreciated.
Bob, you're going off topic. We no wonder we have mobs because we've been through this incredibly weird, traumatic, limitless, boundaryless time we call the 1970s and 80s.
Yeah.
And people now are adults and trying to like get it back together, and they're doing it by acting out in mobs. Am I right?
I feel like the mob mentality is a way to be. I feel like there's a lot of powerlessness in this world.
Yeah.
People look at their
in
lives.
this country.
Yeah, in this country. I
Especially-
shouldn't say
Yeah,
this world.
yeah.
Because I do follow some people in Australia, and it seems like these people, and it seems like they're very happy. Like they don't want for much more than what they have.
Look, I found myself watching the
Satisfied.
Mexican novellas, those drama novellas, because they're just so. Everyone's just who they are. It's like, oh, that's a man, that's a woman. They're and they relate, they don't relate, and everything's very simple.
But I think you two are probably anomalies. But I'll say from me, and I think I'm a pretty regular guy. Like there is a part of me, and I have a very successful life. I have a very happy life. There's a part of me that was like, so I guess I'll never own an island. Like
it's never enough.
I was like I always thought I'd own an island, you know, or like I always thought I'd get a boat. I'd have a boat by this time in my life. And so I can't imagine what it's like if you're
still in Tampa.
if you're still in Tampa and you're in this cycle of
Poverty.
I'm not getting really out of this. Nothing's getting me out of this. Like in my small attempts of sobriety, I will notice that there is a little less shimmer on everything when you're sober. A little less of the, hey man, this is really fucking awesome. You got to really look for it. Like I went to a luau with my daughter sober, and I just remember thinking, like, so this is it. Like this is as good as it's like. Just I'm not shitting on it, but it doesn't get any better than right now. Like
That's you missing alcohol, though. Straight up.
But I can't imagine being someone who maybe like owns a fencing company in Tampa.
Can you believe that I don't really think about alcohol? I live in that thing that you live in with alcohol.
Yeah.
That exists. If I went to a luau, I did go to some thing like that, and I thought, God, how long am I going to be here? Then I met some, because right away I'm like, oh my God, 3 hours of this. But as soon as I met a couple of interesting dads, I just sat and talked with them, and then it was just like, it's time to go.
We have lost track of the fact that the very essence and meaning of life and even spirituality exists in other people, in relationships. That's where we find meaning. That's where we find happiness. We find everything. And instead, we're finding an opportunity to aggressively act out.
I'm going to go topic adjacent on this.
Okay.
At my luau, I saw a mom whacked out on pills.
Oh, yeah.
And I derived joy in going, oh, thank God that's not me. Like I literally, not joy, but I went, my night got brighter when I was like, oh, thank God I'm not drinking.
You're so lucky you're not me, because you know what happens to me in that situation? One of the guys I'm talking to goes, hey, can you go talk to her?
Yeah,
and I'm like, Jesus, I'm at a luau with my kid talking to you about the Dodgers.
All day long. But I would argue that a lot of what you're feeling is just early.
It takes time.
Early not drinking. Yeah, that's sort of a lot of that. If 6 months from now, were you to elect?
I got 9 more days left, Drew.
Were you to elect to do that? Hey, by the way, how was the flying?
It's not.
He's taking Xanax on the flight?
No pills.
No, he's sober.
And by the way, and I wanted to.
I wanted to go on with Rogan with you and hear his thing too. I really wanted to do that.
You really should. We're going in. I won't say when we're going in, but we're going in the very beginning of November, and the 4 of us are doing it.
People are always asking for me to talk to Joe because they think we're at odds. We're not.
No, you're not. And I think this month has been very interesting for all of us independently and as a group.
And I'd love to hear the different experiences. I think it'd be fascinating.
I can give you a rundown of everyone's experience.
Yeah.
Joe was the first one to balk. Like, and that's very. I'm not sharing any secrets.
To balk?
Like when we said we're doing this.
Oh, he didn't want to.
He was like, Ari and Tom said, if Bert's giving up booze, we should give up weed. Weed's never really been my thing. Although I do long for it a tad bit now, more than I ever have. But so they said, let's do no weed. And so we sent an email around and a text, and maybe Joe didn't get it, or maybe he got it and ignored it. But then when the days came closer, he was like, fuck that, fuck you. How am I going to enjoy my food? Like, and we were like, and I think all of us were like, yo, I think you actually might have a problem. And then he we all started joking and attacking each other online. And then he like came out and was like, hey man, just so you guys know, I didn't want to, and I think there's a lot more stakes for Joe in this, but he was like, I was going to surprise you guys at the end, but I haven't really smoked weed in 10 days is when he came out to us.
Yeah.
And we were like, really? And he was like, yeah, and I'm going to do this with you guys. I'm not going to smoke weed.
And he felt a lot better.
And then he called me independently and we started talking, and I said, his thing was like, I haven't been on stage not high in a long time, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying not smoking weed. He goes, and I really think I need to take breaks like this. My perspective was identical to Joe's in that I would always say I didn't drink on stage, but I definitely brought a drink on stage. And if things weren't going the way I wanted them to, I would just make sure I drank a little faster. And then it would just everything, the sharpness of not doing great would just edge off the sides. And so I started saying to Joe, I was like, yeah, I feel really great going on stage too. And I feel like I'm writing more and I feel like I'm present. The one thing that has not been going for me well is I've gotten a lot more introspective and a lot quieter.
Why is that?
Because I told Halston when I met him, I said, hey man, just this isn't me. Like I'm just really quiet because I don't like if I'm drinking, I overcompensate for things. I feel like I don't know what it is, but
yeah, it happens.
I just got a lot quieter, and like I go into a club and they'd be like, hey, did you have a good time? And I was like, I had a great time. And they're like, yeah, but we didn't like, because I'm such a boisterous person when I'm drinking that I'm in the bar. I'm like, hey, what's up, guys? And I'm not hammered. I'm sober, so they don't see. When I'm not drinking, I just go in, sit in the green room, do my show, and then get off stage and go home. But and then Ari had a meltdown. Ari was the time that we all started texting with each other independently.
But before you stopped or after?
In the middle, he's out of it now. But
what's the drug of choice?
Weed.
Oh,
weed.
It can be rough.
And he started attacking us independently.
Yeah. They get very paranoid sometimes when they're going through those first few weeks.
And so Ari kind of melted down. Tom barely does anything. I think it would have been better if we had made him stop spending money. That's his big problem. No more Porsches, Tom. And so oddly enough, out of all of us, I had probably the least amount of withdrawal. I remember they were like, you need a doctor.
No, because you were binging. You weren't continuously more than you thought you were. But I didn't expect you. We talked about this.
I literally, though I took my last drink Saturday morning, like at 2 a.m. or whatever, in whatchamacallit. Didn't drink all day Saturday. Went on stage that Saturday. Woke up Sunday and it just felt good. I never really had like a detox per se.
In a weird way, being able to control it is sort of a
way
curse.
Harder. Pot and depression go side by side.
Yeah.
So
really,
maybe in theirs is coming out as aggression towards each other, and they're kind of, depression focused outward is anger and lashing out.
I wish that I didn't. There's a lot of things I wish that I had insight as a kid that I had done differently.
What? Drew's going for what he's addicted to, right there, baby.
Those are the Reese's Pieces, just so you know. Yeah, okay. But like, I married myself to alcohol and this partying lifestyle in comedy. Now, I don't think I've had a lot of this is almost too much information to kind of process, but I have a lot of sobriety has brought me a lot of survivor's remorse. Ralphie passed, and then you start looking, and then I'm doing really well in my career right now, and you start looking at your friends that you've always been on the same level at that maybe aren't, and then you start going like, it is this weird branding of like, I'm this big party animal, I'm a big fun guy, I robbed the train in Russia, I drank.
Hold on, so you're fearful that the reason you're ahead of some of these people is the partying, is the party brand.
Like it's
everything needs to change and shift though. Maybe it's time to change and shift the brand.
Well, Joe, I don't know if I'm emotionally ready to do that. Like I don't know where I'm at emotionally. Like I one of the things Joe and I have been talking about is like if you try to overthink things like that, then you're fucking killing yourself.
Well,
like,
but especially at this stage. I mean, one of the things that pretty much everybody complains about when they first stop using substances is, oh my God, I'm having these feelings, lots of them, and I don't dig it so much. And that's why you're using, to suppress feelings, like you said. Even if it's just when you're on stage and suppressing the not going so well, you manage it with something outside your body to put in your body. Now you just got to be with the feelings.
Being with feelings is really tough. But I don't. I've done it so little in my life as an adult, not drink, that it's almost like a vacation. It's real. I'll tell you the nicest thing about this is it's been nice to not have to drink. Like I'm going to this funeral later tonight, and I love that.
Can you talk about that?
No. Yeah, we can. He's dead.
Do you know who Ralphie May is?
Who's that?
Ralphie May. He by the way, one of my very favorite comedians. Oh my god,
I think people slept on how fucking talented he was.
Oh, I've seen him take a room of 1,000 people and have them like waves of like people just falling over, dying in laughter. I've never seen anybody else do that.
Did you know Ralphie? He was like 600 pounds.
Oh yeah. I know that.
Stress test. He was on a stress test. No, I'm kidding.
Do we know what he died
of? We don't.
Yeah.
They say pneumonia.
Right. Which
See. Told you.
Yeah,
could have happened to me.
Yeah.
It was happening to me.
He was I think
young healthy adults don't die of pneumonia. They just don't.
He was also I don't know how healthy he was. I don't know how healthy he was because he was 500 pounds.
Yes.
But
he wasn't that big. You've gone from 6 to 5. He was more like 380.
Yes, he was more. He must
yes, he was.
More than 400 pounds. Really? He could.
You don't know how much it takes to be 400.
Yeah, 600. You're not walking really.
Oh, for real?
No, it's generally I would think.
Yeah, maybe 600. I've seen my 600-pound life. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Yeah.
No. How are you measuring how big somebody is? Let's just get inside Bert's brain of how much somebody weighs.
Basically, okay, for real, honestly, 13 years ago, he was on Tough Crowd at Comic with Colin Quinn, and the guy I was sitting next to watching it said, he's 600 pounds. And that is how I've been measuring it.
And he made a mental note and put that away and filed it.
He was funny. I watched a couple of his specials on Netflix just in homage, just to,
He did a joke the last time I was with him. We were on a cruise ship. I mean, it was the last time I was with him, but last time we really hung out together. He was on a cruise ship and he did a joke about. I've been looking for it online and I can't find it, about having a medium-sized dick and how much better it is than having a big dick. See, you ladies that got the big dick, when a guy gets done with you, your pussy lips looks like a horse trying to reach for a sugar cube. And I fucking was doubled over the thing that's so great about Ralphie is he had 9 of those and they were all throwaways.
Yeah.
And the one that he closed with was the one he had written that he liked. He added all his throwaways in there. But yeah,
and the throwaways has people dying in the room. The room he throws them out in such a way that people can't quite catch their breath.
Oh no, player! Oh, they got fat bastard. What if they have black bastard? Huh? I'm talking black. I'm talking Patrick Ewing black. I'm talking eggplant black. I'm talking so black. You throw salt on his face, it looks like deep space. I'm talking so black. Like he would just hammer you with a million of them, and they were. I mean, he would say things that in passing that would be like, I want to date a black chick, but I want that Oprah beat her and she can make a pan of biscuits black. Like he was just, I'm talking Cece from Color Purple. He was just so good.
But he was just delivering an old boy, sort of like he was sitting around a fire in the South, telling a story kind of delivery. Yeah. And then he just hit you over the head with some Giner talk, and
when did he die?
That was the end of that. A couple weeks
ago.
Yeah,
it was right when I started Sober October, and so Sober October, and so I had like maybe 5 days under my belt, and I was at a table sitting with my wife and our best friend, and we were talking about her husband's a real hard ass, like he's like a man's man, and we're like, have you ever seen Tom cry? And she's like, oh, I've definitely seen Tom cry. And she's like, have you ever seen Bert cry? And Leanne's like, Bert cries all the time. She's like, he cries when he watches The Time Traveler's Wife. And I go, I do. And then Joey Diaz called me. And I said, hold on, it's Joey. And I said, hello. And he's like, dog, you sitting down? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, I don't even need to tell you. And I went, he died? And he was like, he did. And I started crying right there. And they're like, wow, look, he's doing it again. And I was like, and then Leanne's like, oh, maybe we should make fun of this. It's probably something real. But yeah, and so his funeral's tonight. I'm supposed to go to it
at the Comedy Store or something.
At the Improv, which is fucked up because they should have it. Everything about this funeral is rubbing me wrong.
It's at the wrong club.
The wrong club. It's like Ralphie. I mean, he did the Improvs on the road, but like usually, if you saw him, he was at the store, at the Laugh Factory.
Where's everybody gonna stand in the parking lot and on Melrose?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. And so,
you ever go down there?
Where?
Like the difference between the main room at the Comedy Store and the entire block that the Improv's on, it's about the same size. Why would they do it down there?
Maybe to keep it private and small or something.
They're trying to keep it small, but I think But those things are never healthy.
Do you watch I'm Dying Up Here, the TV show?
I started it. I stopped halfway because I like Andrew Santino, but I didn't like his character.
How about The Deuce? You watching that?
No, is it good?
Oh, yeah. It's about New York in the early 70s.
Really?
Some of the stuff we've been talking about tonight have me thinking about that show.
Like what? Like what stuff?
I can't remember now, but I remember thinking.
The porn industry, right?
Yeah, well, it's really about Times Square in the 70s.
Yeah, Times Square.
That's crazy. No, I haven't watched The Deuce. I watched a show.
Oh, I know.
You watched Sesame Street? You watched Sesame Street lately? That's all I watch.
I've been reading, Bob, because I'm sober.
It's because I was coming down on the 70s. That's why I was.
Oh, yeah.
The Deuce is what the 70s felt like. I swear to God.
I don't remember. I remember 70s in Florida were really racist. I just remember like 78, 79.
When was Wallace? 72, George Wallace? 72?
When he was shot? Which
Yeah.
George Wallace?
Huh?
Which George Wallace?
Wait, one was shot.
When he ran for president, he was shot.
I think that was 68.
Was it really
It was
that
Nixon.
early?
It was against Nixon, right?
He was shot?
Yeah, he got shot.
You're thinking of the comedian George
I am
Wallace.
thinking
no,
of the
this is
comedian
I'm
George
talking
Wallace.
about a politician from the
white guy, a
South.
racist white
Speaking
guy.
of
for real?
racism.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was.
Wait, how was he shot?
And Florida was a big part. He was Alabama, right?
yeah.
And that whole world that's still the Rust Belt Trump world. That was George Wallace, and he stirred all those. He kept stirring up all those racial fires throughout.
Those racial fires are still there.
Down there.
If you looked at my Facebook feed, you'd be like, "Oh, I think you're just you're signaling. You're signaling racism. You don't realize
you're
it."
sending a dog whistle.
Is that it?
That's the latest little aphorism. It's like it's a dog whistle to the racist. Then they'll start attacking you for using the dog whistle.
Really?
Yeah.
No, but you're saying there is racism.
Oh, there's definitely racism in the South. If you look at my Facebook
And is
feed,
it bad? Is racism bad, Bert?
I mean, not if it saves your life. Like, there's certain situations where we're profiling, and I think which is a subset of racism.
Oh, yeah, it's
could
racism.
save your life. I mean, like literally save your life. Like, I mean, correct?
I guess so, but profiling doesn't have to be a racial thing necessarily.
But you profile all the time. Like
I do all kinds of assessing of people.
Yeah, I'll give
And
you an
that's
example.
that's
This is
racism,
LA
right?
racism, if you want to call it that.
Okay.
So I drive everywhere. I've driven to Tarzana. I live in Claremont. I've been to Hollywood.
Yeah.
All right, in one day. So I'm driving all the time. Somebody really does something I don't agree with. Let's say on the road. I haul ass, get next to them. When I look over and it's a little gangbanger dude, I'm like, oh, totally. Just wanting to make sure you're okay.
Right? Yeah. If you didn't have any racial undertones in your life, you would be like, "Fuck you, motherfucker." Because that's what I'd say to the guy in the Subaru. But you're not in a Subaru. You're in a lowered. Like I've definitely been cut off by people and going, pending on his culture, I'm going to say something.
Yes.
Like and there's been times where and by the way, I only talk shit to white people. Like I
That's
don't.
right.
Like
That's what I'm
anyone.
talking about.
I don't fuck around with
That's
Asian, Mexican.
The Russians I'll avoid. If it's a
dude, I
Russian
am
dude around
terrified of
West
fucking
Hollywood,
Russians.
Well, you've
I'm
had
like,
the-
no fucking. I'm so sorry, sir.
Yeah.
I didn't mean anything by my aggressive getting next to you, at all.
There's
So the Russians, I don't say it to. The Hispanic, I don't say it to. And blacks in certain parts of Los Angeles, I don't say it to. But I will say it to.
That's a testament of the times that we live in. Is that black people are now up with white people? You're like, no. I can assess you quickly.
No, it's that there's racism in our everyday life and we don't recognize it.
Well, I think we also live in a community.
This, by the way, is what we don't let Bob talk about on our podcast. We're indulging him in this stuff. It's like, go ahead, Bob. Talk politics. Talk racial.
But I think in our community, it is so intermeshed. It's much like New York. New York even more so because everyone's walking around together.
Yeah.
That I think you don't see that as much in Tampa, where like I actually never. I could count on my hands. I can't say never. I could count on my hands how many times I drove by where Doc Gooden grew up. Drove by his house.
And you grew up there.
And I grew up there. And by the way, it was the shortcut to get downtown. I would drive around it always.
Why?
Because you could get killed. That was. By the way,
somebody was profiling you when you came in there.
Oh, you did not drive into black neighborhoods when I was a kid. When I was 16, you didn't just drive into the black neighborhoods.
Somebody would shoot you?
Or you get arrested for what the fuck you looking for down here. Like you get pulled over by the cops. What the fuck are you looking for down here? And so
something could go wrong with the cops.
Yeah,
in that area of town.
Yeah, why would you come down? Why would you drive down Hillsborough? Drive on the other side of Nebraska? Why would you do that? I mean, I remember we used to go down because
What are you doing in Ybor City?
Ybor City was sketchy when I was a kid growing up.
No kidding.
Yeah, now it's not. It's been gentrified, but it was scary as fuck. You never went to Ybor City at night. Like, but I
always go to Ybor City at night.
Oh, now, fuck yeah. Oh. But I was so oblivious to the fact, like, I was so oblivious to racism as a kid, meaning like I loved hip hop, so I just assumed. I remember my buddy grew up in Port Tampa, which is back then was the hood, and my other buddy, who's now a massively successful TV producer, who's Cuban, was like, "Come on, we got to go pick him up. He lives in Port Tampa. Let's go." And I just drove in to this scariest neighborhood, pulled in into a what is a housing project, and people just started surrounding the car, and I was oblivious. I was like, "We're here to pick up ... I'm not gonna say his name because I'm sure he doesn't want it said, but we're here to pick up him," and they'd be like, "Oh, okay," but it was just. And so I guess
so it was you being fearful of African Americans that made you believe you were going to get killed if you went in there. In reality, they're just curious. What are you doing here?
Probably. I don't know. I mean, the same thing happened in Tallahassee. When I was in Tallahassee, my girlfriend was a social worker major, and so I would have to go pick her up. And man, and maybe it's all imagined. Maybe it is all imagined. But I remember pulling up to pick her up and being like, "Oh, there are like 12 black dudes just sitting out on a stoop." And they see me, and then they just like stare at me and talk loud, and you're just like, and I guess maybe it's all in your head, maybe it's not. I don't know.
It's interesting. I mean, I do remember growing up that you were told not to go into certain neighborhoods because you'd get hurt.
No, I always went into them, and most times everything's fine. Sometimes you get stabbed.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
It's the truth.
Wait, when you did drugs,
if I went into every bad neighborhood in America for 2 decades.
For drugs.
Yeah.
For drugs. That's where you go to get drugs. You're walking in with cash money. Everybody who sees you in that neighborhood knows you have cash money. I'm talking about the worst parts of Baltimore, the worst parts of Richmond, Virginia, the worst parts of New Orleans, the worst parts of Los Angeles. Every day. And most of the time, nothing happened. A business transaction happened, and I went home.
If something bad did happen, how did it go down?
It was usually me acting like an asshole and not staying within the social norms.
Really?
Right? One time I got ripped off. Shelly knows the story. I got ripped off for dope, right? And I just lost my mind at this dude and was losing my mind at all the drug dealers in the street. Got out of my car. Next thing I knew, I felt, shh, and I turned around. I was just covered in blood, and somebody came and shanked me and stabbed me in the back and pulled up. That's how they cut your kidney so you'll die somewhere else, right? But that was me acting inappropriately, cussing out drug dealers.
What'd you do?
I went to Shelly's house and told her that I got stabbed. What do I do?
And what'd you do?
I couldn't go to the hospital because I had warrants out for my arrest.
Oh, for
so
Christ's
she
sake.
stitched it up.
What? Are you serious?
She's the smartest girl I knew, and she lived right near the drug.
Is Shelly
the girl that was on the show with us?
Oh, she's so beautiful.
And so another time I tried to rip off drug dealers.
She's here. She runs a good
Another
program.
time I tried to rip off drug dealers.
Oh my God.
Tore away. Said 3 balloons or whatever. Got them. Drove as fast as I could. They caught me. Took me out of the car, beat me up, and I remember I had some Jean Gaultier, the Gaultier guy. I had Gaultier sunglasses, and they took them. They beat me up and took my sunglasses.
Well, you deserved it.
Well, that's what I'm saying about these bad neighborhoods. Like the bad neighborhoods exist in certain parts of the United States, and they are drug areas. And those
I'm amazed
drugs,
they didn't kill you.
Huh?
I'm amazed you didn't get killed.
It's bad for business to kill people.
Yeah.
See, your thing of getting killed, that I just was smiling because it's not true. They're not going to kill you. It's bad for business.
Yeah. Now that you say that, I think to myself, I was thinking horror stories, but that's...
I wonder if the African-American kids down there at that age, and we're talking when we were kids, really understood the fear that you had or why you had that fear. They may not. They may not have any other than that they wanted to intimidate you.
I'm saying if you went down there and didn't act appropriately to the rules, if you weren't polite to them when they came up to your car and said, "What are you here for?" And you said, "Oh, I'm here to get so-and-so," and they're like, "Okay, cool." And they're going to stand there until so-and-so comes, gets in your car, and drives away. Because Watts is a big area like that. It's been self-governing for multi-generations. Cops don't go into Watts.
I think though you were around at a time before guns became so prominent though.
Yeah,
I'm not sure it's as...
Well, the other thing I was going to say, in certain parts of the United States, I would not pull up next to some redneck white dude with a shotgun on his truck and say, hey, fuck you, what are you doing, you stupid asshole, like I would to somebody here in Toluca Lake.
Man, I definitely would. I'm more afraid of people in general in Florida than I am. Because... there is,
you know what? It's funny. I was in Hollywood, Florida, and even crossing the street, I felt unsafe. Like I felt like they were. New York, I understand. There's a thing you got to watch out, but I really felt like they were like making an effort to like make it tough on me as a pedestrian.
They have everyone's got a gun in Florida.
Yeah.
And by the way, I know, and not everyone, but if everyone doesn't have a gun, they could easily go to their neighbors and everyone could be armed tomorrow.
Do you know that you can rent guns in Chicago? You can just rent them.
For the day?
For like 4 hours, yeah. I need a gun for 4 hours and they can rent them. And the idea is, don't they track murders through bullet guns and whatever? Why would you rent your gun out to somebody who's going to go kill somebody with that gun and then you would be in possession of the gun? Is that kind of not so smart?
I can't imagine renting a gun from someone. I definitely would want my own gun.
God, this conversation is going so weird and dark. What's the matter with you guys?
It's fun.
I was so happy when I got here. No.
Why not? Have you ever had anyone break into your house?
No. Well, no.
What do you mean, well?
Kind of.
I've had some...
Stalker.
I've had stalkers and things like that.
For real?
Issues, yeah. But no one's actually gotten in.
I would have gotten a gun. I've never owned a gun, but when he was going through that, I would have gotten a gun.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't you think about it?
No. I mean, I had little kids around then and stuff too. I know the data on that. It scared me to have something around. I don't know how to use a gun.
Yeah, there's this weird study about the guns, right? So out of the 90 gun deaths... by
the way, this is one
really
thing
funny.
that will offend my fans.
This is really funny.
Anything... Yeah, someone said something about guns, and they were like, I think they
I'm
said...
not negative guns.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
everybody should have as many guns as they want. But here's the thing. So of the 90 gun deaths, which is half how many people die of drugs every day in this country, but nobody cares. 175 a day from drugs, 90 from guns.
Yeah.
Of the 90 from guns, 60 are suicide. So 60 people of the 90, 2/3 are choosing to kill themselves.
And a lot of them
gun.
are adolescent males.
Now watch this.
Yeah.
This new data that I just got today from this meeting. Drew, you're going to love this. So this is even crazier. When you get down to that 33% who die not from suicide, 1/3 of that, meaning 11% of the entire whole, accidentally kill themselves
or somebody else.
Someone else.
Yeah. I'm in that group.
Dude, is that crazy? So of the gun deaths, 70 of the 90 a day are either somebody killing themselves or somebody accidentally killing themselves or somebody else.
And so then the other 10 are in Chicago? The gun deaths in Chicago are astounding.
The gun things, no, I'm trying to defend the guns. The gun thing is a lie.
Really?
It's a lie. That if we had less guns, people would do less killing.
Less violence.
People who are trying to kill themselves will jump off bridges. They do it because guns are easy to buy at Walmart.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine, but no one really wants to know about that. 2/3 of the gun deaths in America are suicides.
We have a gun. My wife has it. Let me rephrase
Maybe
that.
you shouldn't have it in your 31 days of sobriety.
My
uber
wife,
liberal wife.
My wife is also redneck, so she has a gun. She has a gun, and with hollow point bullets, and she would keep it under her bed.
Oh my God!
Yeah, that's the way she grew up.
That's for you.
And so one day I go, when we have kids, I go, listen, I know how this ends. Is one of our kids finding the gun and pulling the trigger. That's how that. So the trigger is very tempting.
Yeah.
So I buy a lock. I'm in Iowa, and I buy a lock for a gun. You can't.
Sure.
You can. I mean, I guess you can find a lock for a gun out here, but I don't know where gun stores are.
Lockbox.
But in Iowa, they're
I don't think you'd
everywhere.
want to admit to that you had guns here and where you live.
Yeah, right. And so I buy the lock. The lock is one of the ones that goes behind the trigger, so you can't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
So I'm in my closet. I get the gun. I get the lock. I put the lock on.
Oh my God.
And
Did you really?
the gun. I'm holding the gun so this is the gun. I'm holding it in my hand like this with the barrel
in your
pointing
hand
into my fist.
Oh God.
And I'm put the lock on and I go, I think it's on.
Oh.
And I go, I should probably pull the trigger and see if I can shoot it. I have it in my hand and I go to pull the trigger. I go, hold on 1 second. Hold on, I should check everything one more time before I pull the trigger. and I pull my hand off, and then I look and I realize it's in front of the trigger. That had I pulled it, I would have shot my fucking hand off. And I went, "Oh my God!" I go, "We gotta get rid of this fucking gun." So I took the bullets out of the gun. I put the lock on properly, and I hid the bullets in one place and the gun in another place. And my wife saw that. And she's like, "What the fuck good is this gun now? If someone breaks in, I've got to go find the bullets, find the gun, find the key to the lock." And but I just, it scared me so bad that I almost blew my hand off. That I was like, I would have definitely just shot my hand off.
Yeah.
And that my only connection to that was like, I cut the tip of my finger off cutting onions one time.
Yeah.
And I just remember going, I want to take this moment back. Like, and I was like, I can't imagine if I shot my hand off and was like, I want this back.
Yeah.
Oh.
You want moments back? What does that mean?
Run the clock back, so I don't do that.
Yeah. Don't you ever?
You know that's impossible, don't you?
I know, but like that's my instinct immediately. Like when I start to die, I'm gonna go, oh, why did I get on this plane?
You wouldn't get, like, my immediate response would be, I'm so fucking stupid. You wouldn't think that?
No, I go even deeper into stupid, and I go, let's go back in time. It's my initial reaction to
I'm
any
stupid.
of that.
Let's go back in time and redo it.
I have a hard time with anything aging.
Aging is hard. It ain't for sissies.
It sucks.
Like I remember the first time I realized I was losing my hair, I got like a panic in me. I was like, oh, so this is the beginning of the end?
Yeah.
I was like 22. I was like, so this is it? Like I and like now I have a cavity in one of my teeth, and I feel like they're just going to take the tooth out altogether and go, what do you need that for?
Oh.
You're almost done anyway.
Did you see they're making a remake of the one that Corey Feldman and all of them? What was that movie? Lost Boys. They're making a remake of the Lost Boys. So on my phone yesterday was where are they now? What the Lost Boys look like now? And I was sitting looking at it, judging them all for how old they look, and realizing I'm older than them.
My friend Jason Patrick's still doing okay.
Yeah, he's doing all right, but some of them are not doing so well.
Yeah.
Jason Patrick's. There's a group of those guys.
He's a good guy.
There's a group
He's
of
a hardcore conservative. Woo.
Oh yeah, he has to be. Look at his jawline.
But I got some conversation. I was like, Jason, we had to just not talk, right? Because he's so opinionated. It's fascinating.
Jason
to talk
Patrick. What's Barbara Streisand's husband's son's name?
Yeah.
Chad.
Those guys.
No, the actor.
Yeah.
He was in
Goonies.
Played George Bush.
He was in Goonies.
Yeah.
What's the husband's name?
Isn't it Chad?
No, what's the husband's name?
Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin.
Yeah.
All those guys were in movies in the early 90s, 80s, and then ducked under, and then rode this Gulf Stream of a career up to being grown-ups that we felt like they discovered, but they were always there. Like that, I find those guys really fascinating.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind. I guess I don't.
Blowing one of them.
I guess I already missed that. I was like, I wouldn't mind that happening in my career, but I'm like, what am I going to show up when I'm 70? Everyone's like, so Bert's still around, huh?
It's nice to be able to do things you like to do for long periods of time, though. That's pretty cool. And in this business, that's pretty rare. Pretty rare. Think how many people just are here and then gone.
Yeah, it happens really quickly.
So be thankful.
Oh.
You're lucky.
Yeah, I guess I am. I guess I am. I just need to, yeah.
Gratitude is another thing that's in short supply in this country.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel like they're owed things.
Oh, that's that envy stuff again.
Is it? Yeah.
Because somebody else, I always said, back to a little bit of politics, my thing is like, I don't care if there's a group of people that have infinity money, as long as the rest of us get to rise up as well, or because of that. Who cares if there's a small group with all the money? Who cares if everybody else gets to come on up a little bit? But the research shows very clearly that if somebody else has something more, you're not happy.
It's so funny. As you said that, you go, I don't care if there's a bunch of people that have a look. And then you said, as long as, and I thought, there's people poorer than me. Like that's as long as I'm above someone that I went to high school with, I'm cool with that. No, I have this thing that like.
In the end, what does it all matter? It's just the memories you have.
It's the relationships. I don't know about you guys, but I obsess about helping my kids because the millennials have a tough thing.
I'm fascinated by a new thing that I've noticed the last 5-10 years is people that are very comfortable, let's say. Very, very comfortable. Have not a want in the world. Own their homes.
Generally, people.
Own their homes, live very comfortably, got a couple mil in the bank, are miserably angry about the government. In their last probably 5 to 10 years of existence, Like, it's one thing to be a 22-year-old black kid and being angry about the government.
Yeah.
But to be a 78-year-old, upper middle class guy or gal, that's so weird to me. It was like, you kind of did all right.
I'm not sure that they're mad about how they're doing. I think how they're feeling about themselves. And they've been told they're bad and they have privilege and there's something wrong with them. And I think that's what a lot of the backlash is. The people are really feel bad. They feel like they've been told there's something wrong with them and they're immoral or they're just
you mean
like they're being called racist?
They're racist.
Right? Yeah.
They're not sensitive to other people's needs, and that's been grinding, I think, on people for a while. And I just think that's where a lot of this backlash came from. I think.
Yeah.
And yet it's not stopping. It's like it still goes on. Yet people, I don't know. Maybe the acting out through Donald Trump makes them feel somehow okay. I think
comedy's the only thing that can save us.
The economy?
Comedy.
Well, they're trashing comedy. I brought this up earlier. You guys don't seem to know about this. This universal moral outrage that everything's moral, everything.
Yeah.
And therefore nothing's moral. In other words, we used to talk, morality used to be some significant issue. We had to have a conversation about the morality of abortion. Now, you tie your shoes, it's a moral decision. There's some morality tie. It's like, whoa, morality is supposed to be something that you did as a good person and you arrived at through careful thought, and then you lived according to that because there's something about your character that you want to protect and be that good person, as opposed to morality being something you can live however you want. That's the hubris, as long as you tell everybody else how they ought to live. And everything is moral, and everybody's wrong, and you can be aggressive as you want, and you can be Harvey Weinstein as long as you're attacking the NRA.
Yeah,
this is a weird world we live in right now, where everything's moral and nothing's moral.
There was I think it's Louis C.K. or somebody had this abortion joke where it was like, you don't like abortion, good, don't have them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But why is there not this? And that's funny in this day and age, because that used to be what people thought. You don't like abortion, don't have them. Federal funding shouldn't go for abortions, but people should be able to have them if they want them. Why does it have to be a universal truth that everyone, all 300 million people agree to?
Because I'm not defending this position, but I know the logic of the position. The logic of the position is it's murder.
So is war, Drew, and I don't see those same people complaining about war.
Let me give
you know what I mean?
I love you too.
Yeah. It's murder, and unjustified murder has to be stopped. That's a just society will stop an unjustified murder, particularly of the most dependent amongst us.
I know, and that's
war is considered justified murder because whatever. I'm not defending any of those people.
And who determines what's the justification? That's really the strange thing about my mom was a big religious person, and she always taught us, "Thou shalt not kill."
Without justification.
Then it changed in the 1980s to "Thou shalt not murder."
Yeah.
And so war is not murder, but abortion is murder.
Right. That all came up because of the abortion conversation.
Is it really? They changed the word?
Absolutely.
Moses brought. They changed the word, Bert. They changed the word that Moses brought down from the mountain.
Yeah.
And they changed it from kill to murder.
Yeah. Thou shalt not kill becomes thou shalt not murder, because killing with justification.
This?
No. Like, would you kill Hitler if you had an opportunity? Would that be murder?
I would say if I could go back in time, I'd kill one person. It would just be a random, and then let him know I had a chance to kill anyone and I picked you. I don't know why I did it.
That's not my point. My point is,
I know, roll the dice, right? You were at fucking Starbucks.
My point is, there is such thing as justified killing. The problem is, how do you determine what that is? And could you Khmer Rouge? You gonna get those guys? It's like where.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I would have a hard time. I always feel for anyone who served time over in Afghanistan and had to actually kill people, because I would have a hard time sleeping with that at night. And I'm not saying my cousin did or didn't, but I know that he saw action in over there, and I always thought my thing with abortion is I think everyone but this is very unpopular. I think everyone should do what you want to do with your body. If you're a woman, you should be able to do what you do with your body. If you have a baby and you don't want to have a baby, I think that we're in a place in society where.
Okay, so
But you can't tell me you didn't kill something. You're not allowed to say that.
There you go.
You definitely killed it. Like I get it. No, I agree with you. I think you'd be able to kill stuff too. But you killed it. Like, you definitely killed it. Like, listen, that's the only reason I never had an abortion is that, and I never got. First of all, I never was in that situation. But when Georgia, we didn't expect Georgia. That wasn't even. I would never have thought about that.
We were being asked to reduce from 3 to 2. We have triplets, and they were saying go to 2, and we had to think very hard about it. We couldn't do it.
It would have been one of the girls, obviously.
I have only one.
One of the boys, obviously.
No, it would have been my daughter.
Why?
We knew which one it was in the right position for the reduction.
Oh, why would you kill a girl though?
We didn't know it was a girl at the time. It was very early.
Oh yeah, they can't tell you that.
Yeah.
You got 2 boys and a girl. You're gonna have to get rid of one.
Yeah.
Which one are you gonna go with? Obviously, Pink.
So don't you think? Because we talk a lot
Who wants
about
to split the colors in their nursery?
There's a lot of addiction in the returning troops. There's a lot of suicide.
Yeah.
And though those numbers have always been high, both in Vietnam, they weren't that high in World War II. And a just war against Mussolini and Hitler and Japan at the time has some sort of it carries over into your ability to transition into regular life. I think my dad did. I think your dad did. I think people did.
I also think the degree of violence
that it was an
in combat
unquestionably just war.
But I think what they were exposed to was different. It's not the kind of violence in combat that they're exposed to now so routinely. It's intense violence now. There's only a very small percentage that's exposed to
Normandy. It's pretty violent.
Yeah, that was bad. That was terrible.
Right?
Yeah.
But don't you think that something about coming home after, in your conscious thought, like you're talking about the thought of Afghanistan, that in your conscious thought, you know what you did was the right thing to do. I don't think a lot of people coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq are, and the way you express it, I don't know that you feel it's that correct of a thing to do.
I would be.
There was at least ambivalence.
I would have a real I just watched that movie that Brad Pitt did on Netflix about being that guy.
Yeah,
it's a war movie. I would be like the guy, only because we're fighting insurgents and you can't really tell who insurgents are. Yeah. I think I would have a very hard time going, did I kill the right people? Did I and I'm just saying this from movies I've seen. I obviously haven't been there, and I've never had the balls to enroll in the military. But I would have a hard time. I think when in Germany or in Japan, you had a distinct enemy who was dressed up a certain way, so you knew who you were killing. Yeah. And I think that is probably a lot of the problems that people had coming back from Vietnam was they'd go into villages and not know who the enemy was.
They also were 19 years old too.
Oh, fucking 19.
Yeah.
I think you should send the elderly.
Why not?
Just send them. Put them in tanks. They can drive horrible. They already do it. Just bark.
Oh my god!
It's a crazy time we're living in right now, and we need people to speak out and be. Comedians are courageous to go out.
Oh my god! I've never wanted comedy so much as right now.
We need it, and I'm scared that the comedians are going to shy away.
They are. They already don't go to colleges at all.
Oh yeah. I just did a college.
How was it?
It was actually great. Well, I also have to say that I'm not.
You're a
because you'll be harassed.
I'm a storyteller, and I also am at this place in my life where I go, know your lane. Like Ari and I were having a really great conversation about this because he was trying to convince me a little bit otherwise at the very beginning of the conversation, and then my defense was, when I go do a show, I'm there for people come to my show for a certain reason. They don't want to hear about abortion and black people and Mexican clearly I'm not an idiot. I live in that world.
Political comedian.
I'm not a political comic, and if I do say something about race, there will be a undertone of love in it. It's not. I may make a joke. I may make a joke about black people, but it's not like here's the problem with.
No.
And I think my justification was if you went and saw Trevor Noah, and he was at a big theater, and he was like, "Man, I've been fucking this chick in the ass the other night," you'd be like, wow, that's not what I came here for. I was like, wow, that's crazy. And if you saw Jim Gaffigan and he was like, my wife's on her period, you'd be like, whoa, Jim, I thought you were going to talk about tacos. And so
comedians need to stay in their lane.
Do
you feel like some of them aren't? They're trying to get out.
So the right audience gets the right.
By the way, you can get right out of your lane with a great joke. Yeah. With a great joke, I don't care what lane you're in. If Trevor Noah got up on stage and said it the way he needs to say it for his audience. So I'm having sex. I understand that's not something we're going to talk about, but this talks about a much larger thing. Then I'd be along for the ride with it. Or if he said it the way he needs to say it for me to hear it. I do not. I watch everything Bill Burr does. By the way, I have to say as a caveat, he is a friend of mine. I'm not a fan.
I am.
But I am a fan when he gets on stage. Yeah. I want to hear everything. But he has a joke right now about the military that is one of the funniest things I've ever heard, and he'll put it on his next special. It is one of the funniest things I've ever heard, and it is against the fucking grain. Like it goes
you
against.
Tell us?
No, I won't because it's his. That's his
joke.
That's his joke. He wrote it. He gets to tell it to you.
Well, what against the grain in terms of pro-military, or is that one of those things where Louis C.K. goes, well, maybe?
No, nope. It is against the grain.
Against military. Well, I don't know what's with the grain right now. Is it?
Well, with the grain is every hack comic out there going. I don't know. Let's give it up for the troops. And you're like, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
Like Bill's just, but Bill, that's Bill's lane.
Well, Bill
like
penetrates. He's a penetrative comedian. He's like,
but I think people are oppressing what they talk about.
I gotta go pee. You guys talk without.
Okay.
Go pee. You can pee in the backyard if you
talk
want.
behind my back.
Pee in that pool, Drew. No. I'm going to pee in that pool. But I think that people are feeling oppressed. I'm having conversations in my house that I wouldn't have even at work.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely wouldn't have. That you can have conversations with your wife or with your closest friends that you used to be able to have with almost just about everybody, and people say, "Oh, he's an asshole," or "That's stupid," or "I don't like that." Now you can't even say it for fear
Bob,
of being crucified.
I'll take it one step further. I had a conversation with my wife in my house that I stopped because we have a Nest camera, and I thought, what if they tap into my Nest? What if they tap? I will lose everything. Because it's by the way, it's an innocuous thought that I just wouldn't share with the world. But it used to
be thoughts you could talk about with a community that would not crucify you and want your head chopped off for sharing something that was stupid, or you were being less than insightful. Now you can't even have that conversation. And I started to make a list of my friends that I can say anything to. It's about 5 people.
Oh. Can I tell you?
Because and a lot of my male friends, it's because they'll tell their wives, and their wives will change their opinion of me. Yeah. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh,
if it ever got like, I just want our kids to play. I don't want to get in any trouble. I don't want any trouble.
If Joe, Ari, or Tom lose their phone, we are fucked. Like, we are fucked. Like, here's a really.
I delete my texts with friends that are too far.
Mine are, this is a little game I like to play. It's called the N-word deep dive.
How about the F word? The F word flies around here.
What, fuck?
No.
Oh, faggot?
You can't say that word in public?
I can say it on this podcast.
No, you can't. They'll use it against you.
Here's the problem with that word is that I think that's
there are 2 F words now, America.
Yeah, there's 2 F words and 3 C words. Really?
Cunt?
No, I'm
and
joking.
What's the other 2?
It's just cunt. It's just cunt.
3 times.
Conservative. The guy just got fired. Guy just got fired at Amazon Studios. For, I'm sure it's sexual harassment.
Yeah, of course.
But did you hear this, Drew? Let's go into words now, because comedians are words, right?
You need an engineering degree to operate your toilet, dude.
There are 2 F words.
You're in your bedroom.
Oh yeah. It's got a lot.
I got a lot.
I got it from Asia.
No kidding.
I took a shit in Japan one time that was so bad the guy next to me threw up, and I thought,
high five,
thanks,
congratulations.
And I thought he was trying to talk to me because it's in Japan. He's like, and I'm like, and I kept saying, no, the toilet shoots water. If you need toilet paper, the toilet shoots water. And so I got one of their toilets. It's one of the best toilets in the world.
Yeah, it just shoots water all over the place. It's got like 19 different settings and a
the thing I said.
Manual
so we're talking about words, Drew. Now, remember George Carlin had what? 7 words you can't say on television?
7 words you can't say on television.
There's at least 30 now.
Oh, there's 150.
30 what?
30 words you can't say in public anymore. So there's 2 F words now. There's not just fuck. There's the other F word, which I won't say.
I'll say it because I think that the guys who elected Trump were guys that weren't done saying the word faggot. They were like, you took it away too soon. Now that's it. Now I got to stand up for my rights.
Okay. So Lenny Bruce said, when it's the suppression of the words that make the words have so much power.
Right.
Drew, we are heading into an era where so many words have so much power.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, listen.
Do you remember the bit that Lenny Bruce did about the N-word? I can't even say that word.
I can say it. But I choose not to. Here's the reason I don't say the N-word. Not because I give a I used to do this as a bit.
Jay-Z says it a lot. Do you know that?
Yeah.
I got the new record of him cheating on his wife. I was playing it at dinner last night. We had to take it off. It's like repulsive how many times
my daughters
he uses that
do
word.
not like that word when it's in the car. Like not when
I thought he had made a record about cheating on his wife. It's the same old N-word, 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 N-word 19 times in the first minute. But go on. So there's a lot of words that you can't say anymore.
I don't say the N-word, not because
you said the word tranny. You can't say tranny anymore.
I don't say the N-word not because I care about hurting anyone's feelings or offending anyone. I don't say it because the word is a tricky word. If you do say it, if you start saying it and it's a word that's in your mouth, it can slip out of your mouth. And you can say it at the wrong time. That's the reason I'm not racist, is that if you say racist things like, oh, Asian people can't drive, then one time you say that and you don't look around and you say it in front of someone and you hurt someone's feelings.
Yeah.
My whole thing about being racist is I wouldn't want to hurt someone's feelings. Like, and obviously you can't be racist to me, so like you can't hurt my feelings, I guess. But like if I would never want to say something fucked up and hurt someone and them going, Bert, is that really how you feel? And I've done it. I've definitely done it. I've done it on this podcast. I got an email from a guy named Joe, I think, who was like, I can't believe you fucking said that. And I was like, I was drunk. I don't know what I said. But yeah.
So what do you think is going to happen, Drew, with all these words you can't say?
Well, I mean, the most sort of...
What's a historical point about that?
Well, whenever you start burning books and controlling words and controlling thoughts,
To Kill a Mockingbird. They started burning To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, it's the Cultural Revolution in China, the Maoist revolution. This is Maoist techniques where the Maoists would go and scream down professors, scream down speakers. No one was allowed discourse. Books were burned. Language was controlled, and people started getting killed.
And by the way, they were all the same color.
but the point is, the only thing different about the Maoist regime or the French Revolution or these other sort of periods of history where these unbelievable mob activities have come along, it's usually the government doing it. This is the only time I can think of the French Revolution being a little closer to the people doing it.
The government has a hand in it because the government right now. Liberals are eating their own.
Yes, they are. All of a sudden.
That's a new thing. Just started happening. How about that guy out at Evergreen University? Yeah. That professor who just said, no, I'm not going to not come to school because I'm white. Yeah. You can't tell me that's racism. You can't tell me because of my skin color.
And he wasn't allowed to speak. He was silenced and then lost his job.
Yeah.
And losing the job is the modern version of beheading.
And by the way, I heard this on Rogan. I'm reiterating something I heard on Rogan yesterday, I think from one of these guys, from the guy who got fired from Google. The guy from got fired from Google was a liberal.
Amazon.
No, this is the women's thing. This is about women.
Okay.
They had him sit in a symposium about women's rights.
Yeah.
And then said, if you have any thoughts, we'd love to hear it. So he clearly
wrote a very carefully thought out
18-page memo,
of which some stuff in it was problematic.
Yeah, where he said women are hysterical or something to that effect or whatever he said. And then he got fucking fired. You can't just say, hey, if you have any thoughts, hit me up with them, and then you do, and then they're like, you're out. That's fuck.
There's a weird thing as it pertains to sexism that's going on in these uber sensitive environments like tech, where women aren't moving up the executive ladder because they can't be in the presence of the male executives. They're fearful of being around the women for fear of being accused of something. So they just refuse. They will not. So women get zero time with the leaders. The way the men could, because the men are too freaked out. They always has to be somebody with them around them.
That's been happening for 20 years, I was told.
What's that?
That's been happening for 20 years.
Well, it's been happening it's been happening in many disciplines, but it's becoming more clear in the executive branches, where part of the reason people are able to climb an executive ladder is they have relationships, and they get to understand each other's strengths and weaknesses, and somebody gets tapped to move up the ladder. But if you can't be around that person, even, how are you ever going to know who they are?
I don't know if I would I'm probably.
How would you have done in the corporate world?
Well, I had that TV show, and we had a van that we rode in, and that girl Stacy, the woman Stacy, was my executive producer or director. She rode in the van with me all the time because I liked her company. But there were a lot of girls who I don't think my other guys in the van, because all guys, it was we'd put all the guys that I liked in that van, and then Stacy, and then when Stacy wasn't on the road with us, they'd be like, "Hey, no girls in here." And that stinks and I know the other girls got pissed that they didn't get to sit in the van, but I think these guys were cameramen and sound guys who were like, hey man, I don't want to lose a job over me saying something off color because I know I can't offend anybody, and we're living together for 11 days and I'm away from my family. And so there were girls that were like, how come I don't ever get to ride in the van? And you'd be like, I don't know. Like
That's a weird side effect of all this.
Is that women it's not inclusive. The drawing the lines in the sand go
the pain is real. let's be very specific. The pain is real. What's happening?
What pain?
The pain of being sexually harassed and sexually abused and constantly in not even in the extreme of the Harvey Weinstein, but in the more.
We should call Stacy and find out if I ever sexually harassed her.
Do it. Call her.
I'll call her right now.
We'll finish the thought.
But the idea is, it's not right, and it's horrible. But this society has problems it hasn't sorted out, and we think that somehow we can, solve it by cutting off the heads of 4 or 5 people. Or 10 people. Yeah. I believe the Hollywood thing will go on for 10 people. I'm
it's gonna go bigger than the next one's gonna be really big. We'll talk about that later. I'm sure. I don't know if you've already Googled it. But
no, who is it?
I'm not gonna be the one to share that, only because I don't want to be a part of it if it doesn't happen. I don't want to be a part of
what kind of person is it? I mean,
executive or actor?
It's Brad Pitt. No, I'm kidding. I wonder why But maybe this is the world telling me not to call Stacy on the phone on my podcast. Oh, never mind.
Stacy, I can't come to the phone right now. Leave a message and I'll call you back. At the tone,
I'll just leave
record your message.
General
when you
message.
finish recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
You're sober now.
What's up, sweet tits? I'm joking.
No,
Stacey, that's obviously a joke.
You're sober now, and you're calling.
And we don't work together anymore. We don't work together. You're just a friend. Hey, it's Bert. I'll try you again.
No, you're sober now, and you want to make amends for what you did wrong when you were drunk. You want to sit down and make.
I don't think I probably would put.
You've mentioned it 4 times, so I think you did something inappropriate.
No. He's worried that he might have.
No, I'm sure I did. I'm sure I was guilty of that my whole career, of saying inappropriate stuff.
Yes,
because that's kind of what I do for a living.
Isn't that frightening? If your job is to say inappropriate things,
in today's
how
world,
comfortable is it to live right now?
In today's world, that's like saying, well, my job is to swim with sharks, and occasionally, one of these sharks going to get me eventually.
Here's the funniest thing I heard all week. You want to know? They asked Snoop Dogg what he thought of LeVar
Burton.
No, Ball, the basketball player.
Yeah.
The story of what's the kid's name again? I forget. He's only 19. The point guard for the Lakers.
Yeah. I think it's LeVar.
Ball.
Yeah, LeVar Ball.
No, that's his dad.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Lorenzo Ball.
Yeah.
Right? And so they asked him, Snoop Dogg, what he thought. And he goes, I think his daddy threw him in the lion's den with some pork chop drawers.
That's funny.
It was so funny. Do you get it? Because his dad talks him up like he's the new Magic Michael Jordan and stuff.
Yeah.
And all the point guards in the NBA are just keying in on him and shutting him down and knocking him down.
That's the thing. The new norm will be don't say I'm not racist, I'm not sexist, I'm not homophobic. Just say I'm a bad person, because then they won't come after you. When you say I'm a perfect liberal progressive, that's when they go, let's see the dirt you've done. Let's find out. I guarantee you, when that David Cross shit came out, there was a number of people running through his entire timeline of Twitter because they started bringing up old tweets he had done about some shooting in New Orleans and brought that out. And they were like, oh, he's always been a racist. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, it's just go and say, I'm a sinner just like everybody else.
So do you think the comedians are going to shy away, or are they going to ball up?
No, because there's 1,000 comics trying to make a name for themselves. And just like the kid who wants to fight the biggest guy in prison or take out the bully, there's comics going, I'll go hard as fuck. I don't give a shit about
I want to see it.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
What you won't see is I think Jim Jeffries been grandfathered in. Bill Burr's been grandfathered in. Louis, Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle. I think what you'll see is a lot of like sitcom, like I'm not shitting on, but like D'Elia probably has a career outside of stand up. I don't think he'll ever go hard in the paint about social justice or anything like that. Rogan's been grandfathered in. This is just about
life, though. You keep calling it politics. This is life.
Yeah, but
it's very unsafe to live in this society right now. You could lose your job from something you said 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how far back people go. Are they going to go 40, 50 years, 100 years? Are they going to start taking away Academy Awards?
That's Trump's point. They're taking down all the statues because the people were racist, and when you're going to get rid of Jefferson and Washington, that's the extreme.
That's part of me. Then I go, okay, if we're gonna say take down the animals, then let's take them all down.
The animals.
Like the Harvey Weinsteins. Well, let's go down. Let's go through the fucking line.
And let's get into Sacramento and politicians, because they are the most egregious outliers.
Take them all down.
I've heard some stories I can't believe
about a certain governor that we had,
about people in our state
but that's the duality
that we've elected that are representing us. I don't dig it. As a citizen, I want names. If the private sector is going to be held to this, sure as hell the public sector has to be.
Yeah,
but the duality of Trump admitting and having as many settlements as Harvey Weinstein being president of the United States, that's the duality of what's going on. There's something really unknowable is going on.
Yeah.
But I'm more about the words. I give you the example. When NWA came along, I've been a part of the music scene here in LA from the beginning, from the late 70s. The guitar player in my band, KK, had the first hip-hop club in LA called Radio in 1981 in downtown LA. So we all kind of knew of Eazy-E, Ice-T when he first rapped when he was a kid. We kind of knew, we were the rock kids who knew about the rap world coming up. So when the NWA record came out, it was unbelievable. It was a phenomenon like no music has ever been. I remember getting the record and listening to it and thinking, this makes the Sex Pistols look like ABBA.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? So it became the most popular record amongst musicians. And we were at a birthday party for an actress who was dating a friend of ours. And I remember it was the Beastie Boys, the Chili Peppers, Fishbone, and my band, all at this park in Griffith Park, blasting on a big ghetto blaster, like in an 80s movie scene, the NWA record, and we're all singing along, and it came to the N-word, and all us white guys sang the N-word, and the black guys stopped and said, and I remember Norwood, the bass player from Fishbone's one of my best friends and a roommate, he goes, it's just so weird hearing white people say that word.
Yeah.
And I remember that word has power that it's never going to go away, like what you were saying.
Yeah.
But these other words where you can't even say retard anymore. You can't say retard.
Yeah.
I mean, now I'm going to get crucified for saying that.
Well, there's a lot of people, I think, I made a conscious, I stopped calling things gay. Like going like your car's gay.
Right.
Only because I heard Todd Glass say how that made him feel.
Yeah, you knew not to do it.
I was like, oh, cool.
That's one person who got their feelings hurt. That's not a reason to change a society. That person, the pluralism of America, Drew, is that we have to learn how to tolerate other people. That's what America is.
Yes, and unifying around certain principles and concepts that most people don't even know what they are. That's the problem. We haven't taught people what the idea of this country was. It was an idea. It's a thought. It's a concept.
It was a concept.
And it's the only country on earth that was founded around a concept. And that concept has been a unifying property of all these different people from all these different countries and cultures coming together and living in a productive, unified,
and a tolerant of other people's way.
Perfect union.
That is so ripe for a sketch of a bunch of
Toluca Lake liberals taking their kids to preschool?
No. A bunch of people in the bottom of a boat coming to America going, so what do you think this place will be? And go, well, I hope that there's freedom there. And they're like, yeah, that's what we're all looking for. And then one guy's like, I hope you can also that like there'll be church and state. Well, I don't think so, but in this freedom, you get your opinion. The guy's like, what? And like they're all expressing the idea of what this country will be. I'm not pitching this sketch well, but like I like the idea that the idea of this country has been forgotten. The idea of freedom.
Listen, I was watching Hamilton, the play, which was fantastic, and I was watching it. I was like, it's not really the way history went, at least in that first act. And then I went, oh my God, this is what people are going to think is the history of this country, is the idea. And I thought, wow, unless you really knew the facts, and it's fine, it's great, and it's a great study.
Wait, Hamilton wasn't black?
Right. Well, it's not those kind. There was just some nuances about the ideas that were like, that's not quite what the idea was, but okay. Yeah. And I thought, well, that's going to be factually the notion that everyone has now, because they weren't ever taught the actual. There was no civics class, there was no government class, there was no history of the United States that everyone's really.
So
taught
let's
or
go over the
interested
fundamentals. You can come here and honor any god you want, or no god.
Yes.
Right. You can come here and practice your cultural things, but you have to be respectful of other people's cultural things.
Yeah, because you can smoke marijuana in a religion, and they're cool with that.
The idea was you can come here and be free, be left alone to do to practice your religion, to set up a business unencumbered from tyranny, from principles or government that were going to get in the way of you being free. Freedom is lost as a cultural virtue. Lost.
Well, yeah, but
now it's tolerance. And tolerance in its logic, if you demand absolute tolerance, becomes intolerance. And that's the problem we're into right now.
But the simplest individual's tolerance, like, you can do whatever you want. I don't care. I'm going to do whatever I want. And as long as they don't collide dramatically, I'm not going to worry about what you do in your house, and I'm not going to...
Dude, there was never any concern about that. It was always what the government was going to allow us to do.
But now it's the people, dude.
I understand that. And Alexis de Tocqueville in 1822 came over here, a Frenchman, came over and wrote a book called Democracy in America. It's still one of the greatest sort of analyses of democracy ever. And he said, this country claims to have freedom of expression, freedom of speech. They have less than anywhere. Because as soon as you speak up, the public square will crush you. The government won't. The people will. Really? So extreme views are always crushed by the people. And that was his point.
Well, then why is there no faith that these Tiki Torch Ku Klux Klan members will be crushed in the public space?
Why is there faith about that?
Why there's no faith in that? I have complete faith. Give racist ideas and see what everybody says. And I guarantee you, I know America pretty well. They're not going to go for it.
Because discourse isn't something that's not allowed now. We have to use the Maoist technique of yelling people down and making sure they don't talk. Silencing offensive speech.
I might have to read a book on the Cultural Revolution in
Japan, China.
Yeah, my uncle told me about it.
In
the 90s, he told me about it. And he was like, no, it's horrible. I guess he represented
in China
someone.
Or France?
In China. He said he represented someone who was thrown out of a window, a professor that was thrown out of a window, and I think he had gone on to write a book.
Khmer Rouge was the same thing. Anybody with anybody who knew something more than another person had to be killed. Because it was not equality, absolute uniform equality in all things at all times. And, there have been waves of this kind of thing.
So all I'm saying is, I believe there's the brave and the righteous need to stand up right now, rather than cower away. I think we've all been cowering for 5 or 10 or 15 years, and we need to stand up and be righteous. And there's a hesitancy because there's that, well, why me? Right? I'll give you an example. I didn't want to profit off of the pain and suffering of drug addicts. I owned a rehab. I felt like I'm becoming rich off of other people's pain and suffering just because of a couple laws that were enacted, the Parity Act and the Obamacare, right? Yeah. And there are many millionaires been made by those two laws that own rehab centers.
It's a disaster.
And I just felt bad. I just felt like, God, I already got enough. I already make a very good living and my kids live pretty comfortably. To just stack money in a bank account somewhere is so morally wrong. I sold my ownership stake in the rehab 4 years ago. I said, I still love it because I designed it and I hired everybody and whatever, but I don't want to own it and I don't want all the stacks of money going up into my family. And everybody was calling me crazy. What are you talking about? What are you about your kids? What about you're so old and your kids are going to be dead and have no money? I go, I know families who left a lot of money to their children. They're my clients. I'm leaving my children very little. You understand?
Yeah.
Why can't people stand up and be righteous?
I never made any money.
You've never made any money off of rehab ever.
And it always did. I had the same kind of feeling like, I don't really want to make a lot of money.
Maybe that's the influence you had on me. But as I knew, and there's some people that, it's the same as selling T-shirts. Like, no, it's not.
No, it isn't.
This is a human thing.
Weirdly, if you had an insurance company in between, it's like, okay, I'll take the insurance money. But even then, it's a little bit kind of weird. It's just
my wife wouldn't tell me how much we pay our therapist. Because she said, if you'd stop going to therapy because you would look at it as paying his mortgage or what. I don't know how much I pay my therapist, but I imagine it's inconsequential.
$300 a session, I would imagine.
Oh my God, is it that now?
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
I wonder what it is. It's fucking $300.
Are we on Facebook Live with this thing? Susan's texting me.
No.
Okay.
$300.
She wanted to know.
No. What time do you need to get out of here?
I don't know. She also wants me to go for Alfie May's funeral.
Now I got to call Stacy because I got her sweet tits. I'm worried.
I know. Yeah, it was a bad move.
She's pregnant, so
here we go. Is the Ralphie Mays thing a point of
say you're making
only?
amends? Say you're with your sponsors and you're making amends.
She wants me to go because
she knows
going. No.
Bert, say you're with your sponsors and you're making amends for things that you did that you don't know you did.
She's seen me at my lowest.
Oh, good.
She's yeah.
Tell her about you turned over a new leaf.
She knows. I've been talking to her, trying to do a project together.
Hi, this is Stacey.
Jesus Christ.
She's just not interested in talking to you. She heard the first
Yeah.
voice. She saw the transcript of the first voice
Me and her might be-
message, and it said sweet tits, and you're just dust.
What time is Ralphie May thing?
8, but it doesn't start at 8. If it's anything similar to Ralphie's life, it'll start at 9.
Yeah. If it's actual homage to Ralphie.
If it's an homage to Ralphie. Well, maybe we should wrap up and head over to Ralphie's thing. There's a cigar shop. Do you smoke cigars, Bob?
No, I gotta go home.
There's
You
a cigar
guys
shop
go
right
have
next
fun.
door that I was going to go.
This is not at all what I expect us to get into today. I thought we were going to talk about your sobriety. I thought we were going to talk about substances. We went down a big old rabbit hole.
That's what I like about a podcast is that
you can do anything. I like that too.
And it's like I remember one time having an interview with Bobby Flay, and I had a bunch of things scripted that I want to ask him,
yeah.
and I was like, and I kept it on track, and it was so boring, and he wanted it to go somewhere else, and I was afraid to because I didn't know. You know, I was like, number one, I was like, I know Scripps is going to want to edit this if we start talking about crazy stuff. And I think it was an unremarkable podcast for Bobby because he was like, oh, great. But like, I like a conversation like this. It's all what's going on in the national dialogue right now. I mean, everything that comes up on Facebook or on, I look at Twitter news a lot. Everything that comes up on Twitter news, I go, oh, someone else is in trouble. They're after someone else. ESPN cancels Barstool Sports. Barstool, you know what that is, right? This just happened. They canceled Barstool Sports as a show. It's a big page.
Yeah.
They canceled it because they have a caveat in their clause saying if you work for our company, you can't sue us for sexual harassment or inappropriate jokes or coarse language, racist jokes, racism, anything. And this woman came out after the whole Harvey Weinstein thing and said, I chose not to work for Barstool Sports because of that. And then the boss, the owner of Barstool, Dave Portnoy, I think is his name, came out and said, no, you're trying to capitalize on other people's sexual harassment and jump on us. We put that in the contract. He goes, I didn't even know it was in the contract, to be dead honest with you, but we're a comedy space and we're all about fucking inappropriateness. And if you want to work for our show, you have to be cool with inappropriate. Well, ESPN heard this guy, Dave Portnoy, who took to Instagram way too quick, should have never said a fucking word, and they canceled it. That just happened this afternoon.
Huh.
Yeah. Kris Jenner went blonde.
But everyone's. I'm scared. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm fearful.
R. Kelly's ex-girlfriend details alleged physical abuse and sexual coercion. So like how come? Why is no one going after R. Kelly?
Yeah.
Like why is that guy? I mean,
How about Chris Brown?
I just watched a documentary.
You watched his
on Chris Brown.
documentary. You watch it?
I did.
You want
I
to know
did.
the first thing that struck me? He pays less child support than I do. I was like, what the fuck is that about? What lawyer does he have?
Mark Argos.
I just watched a documentary on Chris Brown. I watched 2 documentaries this week. One on gender fluidity and non-binary sexuality.
You learned something about that?
I did.
Because that when you said lots of words, that's always what I think about is there are 170 preferred gender pronouns. And in Canada, by law, you have to use the right one. Even in somebody who's changing their mind minute to minute, you have to, and you get it wrong, you're in trouble.
Yeah, well, but they said
this is where the words where a person's name comes in handy.
Yeah, I guess
Chris, right? What is I forget what Bruce Jenner's name.
No, Caitlyn. Chris is the mom.
Caitlyn, how you doing, Caitlyn?
Yeah, just say your name the whole time. I didn't know that there was.
Doesn't that get around having to explain what the word?
A little bit, but there's times when you need to use a pronoun, and you got to be. Do you know how many pronouns there are now? All the Z pronouns and stuff
for a couple
Shim,
months.
Sham,
Z, Z, Zoom.
What about are we sure that Chris isn't a transgender?
Chris. No.
Kris Jenner is not.
But you were trying to say something about
Why can't you say that? Now we're all worried that I'm going to get crucified for saying that.
So you listen to that documentary. The other one was Chris Brown documentary.
Yeah,
and
I learned. Chris Brown definitely blames Rihanna for the fight. Like he definitely was. It was in his book. It was Rihanna's fault. she just misunderstood some shit, and then she went wild.
No, I watched his documentary.
Yeah.
He's saying they did that stuff all the time.
They did that stuff all the time, but in the Lambo,
Drew,
that was her.
What
that
kind of
started.
relationship is that? That's
Domestic
two
violence.
very sick people
people.
who have a fittedness.
Yep.
And then he was shocked at the end of it because they had been doing that for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he punched her with a closed fist. He was shocked that he did that, but she grabbed his balls, and she scratched up his CDs, and then but it came out, and I was like, oh, this is. It's so funny. I'm so stupid that I watched it, and halfway through I go, he's not a bad guy, and then I was like, oh yeah. He produced this. Why wouldn't he put himself in a good light? I'm like, what am I, a fucking idiot? I just watched a Hitler documentary and went, guy's got some good ideas. I was like,
Trains run on time, brother.
Trains run on time. Hitler's not a bad guy. Like, I literally watched that and was like, I'm an idiot. And then I watched the gender fluidity thing, and it was just a short documentary. And I'd always, like, when people were like, I'm non-binary, I was always just mocked it in my head. I didn't say anything out loud. But then I was like, oh, there are women born with testicles. Where like they were talking about it, and it was about due to sports, and I was like, oh, maybe I should shut the fuck up about things. That's the one thing, which we didn't do, which I'm sure is, but like when it comes to this in the workplace or anything, just shut the fuck up. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. Don't ever say anything. Just be like, I don't know what you're talking about, and then you never get in fucking trouble. But if you have a job like us and you have to talk for a living, it's hard to do.
It's hard to do. Stay within your lines.
Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. Your podcast is called
This Life.
This Life. I've been on it. It's a fucking blast.
Yeah, you're great.
It was a really fun. I'd like to do it again. I
Sure,
can talk to you guys like this all the time. Maybe it's because I'm sober.
We're trying
What
not
are you going
to.
to do November 1st? You're just going to get blasted?
I don't know.
You might want to keep going a little bit.
Someone said to me,
I'm using reverse psychology on him.
they were like, see if you can do another 30. And I was like,
No. Just November 1st is the only day you have to think about.
no, Bob, it doesn't work like that. It works like that for you.
What if your kids come to you and say, Daddy, we love you so much more this way?
Please do that. Please stay sober.
If I'm gonna adhere to my own policy of this podcast, I will be very honest right now.
Yeah.
That would
Yesterday,
it would influence you.
I had an influence yesterday. It was not that, but I'm doing a FaceTime or a Insta story. Isla's getting up to bat. I'm sitting next to Georgia. Our friends around, big group of family was around, and Georgia's done stuff like this in the past. But I said, Isla, baby, get up there and be just like your dad. And Georgia goes, yeah, drunk.
Oh.
And I went, whoa. And I deleted the story, and I said, Georgia. And she went, what? I'm joking. And I go, hold on. I go, Georgia. And she goes, what? It's a joke. Dad, it's a joke. And I went, is it a joke? And she was like, Dad, it's totally a joke. I went, okay. So I left it. I left it.
But she saw how you reacted. She's going to backtrack.
And so then later that night, I pulled her aside. I said, hey, I need to know this for real. Because I'm not,
how old is she?
13.
Okay. She doesn't have it in her to tell you for real.
Okay.
I think they do in the right moment. They could say here, I believe they will say in the next 9 days, this is so great. You're so much.
You'd have to frame it a little differently.
I said to her last night, I said, hey, I want to talk to you for real. I said, I haven't been drinking at all this month. Do you notice a difference in me?
Oh, that's the way to do it. Okay,
and she said, yeah, you're a little calmer, but not really. And I said, and she goes, you're around more. But that's just because I've been home. I've been home this whole month.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah. I said, well, I'm concerned because you did say I was drunk, and I definitely would never be drunk at one of Isla's baseball games, but I am. You did say that, and I'm curious. Is that how you see me? And she said, no, Dad, that's not how I see you. I said, but you said it. Now, here's the only reason I. She has said in that exact same situation. One time she said, I said something to the effect of, I don't know, what are we going to talk about? And Georgia goes, let's talk about Dad's girlfriend.
Oh.
And I clearly have never cheated on Leanne. I've never had a girlfriend. Georgia has no concept of what that would be at all. But it's her trying to be funny.
Yeah.
So I wrote it off to that. But it did put up feelers where I went, hold on. She definitely didn't say racist, because I've definitely never been racist around her. Yeah. She said drunk, because I've definitely been drunk around her. But she also doesn't know if I've ever been drunk. She said Leanne's been drunk. She's seen Leanne drunk. And she was like, how come you don't ever get drunk like that? And I was like, well, I drink a lot. So when I drink, you can't tell that I've been drinking. Mom barely ever drinks. So when mom drinks, it shows up. And she went, oh. And she was like, wait, does Tom get drunk? I said, no, but Tom's a big drinker. And then she said, because I've seen Sandy drunk. And I went, yeah, Sandy. Like, it's like the people that don't drink, they recognize when they drink. And the people that do drink, they don't recognize that we're drinking. But that was the only thing.
No, it's more about presence.
Wait, Sandy
is just our two friends.
Okay.
Tom and Sandy. I should have said their names.
Tom.
I'm not going to say his last name.
Okay.
No.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out.
It's just friends for the family.
Not comedians.
No.
Because you have a comedian friend named Tom.
Yeah.
And his wife just had a comedy special.
Yep. Christina Pajinski.
Really good.
I couldn't sit through it.
Oh,
I'm joking. I
was thoroughly, totally, and correct me if I'm wrong. She's a smart person.
Much smarter than Tom.
I that wasn't the question. I just got good comedians, super smart. Like she's hiding it a little bit. It's so smart.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She's really smart. She has a podcast called That's Deep Bro. That's pretty great.
I'm gonna get her on our podcast, Bob, too.
Yeah, please.
She was her stand. I was very impressed.
But that's the only thing.
Let's leave him with some hope. I think most.
And by the way, she comes on to some stuff and says some stuff. And she just goes, screw it. I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, good. Yeah, somebody's speaking up.
Most people, whether they have drug problems or not, are evolving, hopefully.
Yeah.
Right? And so eventually, you have to shed this skin. There'll be a new you. You've got to trust your talent and your awareness and your eye and ear for things and stop making it so much about all the other stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have a little faith.
I think I alluded this in the middle of the podcast, but the one thing that Rogan and I had said is that life is an evolution, and as an artist you evolve. Yeah. And if they're real true fans, they evolve with you, and if they don't, then they were never really true fans. They were tied on to whatever you glammed onto. Yeah. You know, like Andrew WK. They never liked his music. They just liked the idea that he was a party guy.
Whatever you represented to them, rather than you are. Yeah.
I think this month has shown to me that, number one, the biggest fucking realization is I can go to sleep sober. That is a really hard thing. It's always been hard for me
to sleep.
Just go,
and you can fly,
and I can fly sober. It's not massively enjoyable.
I'm sure,
but
that's an understatement.
But
it could get there.
But I said the one thing. But I'm also a teetotaler, so I'm like, all right, it's all or nothing. I got to cut all booze out of all flights forever for the rest of my life and go, that's the rule. No booze on planes. Because I don't know if I think I do have that addict part of my brain where I go, if I give myself an inch about drinking on planes, I go right back to drinking before the flight. Like I've gone through iterations of drinking before the flight, no more drinking before the flight. Okay, just when they ask if I want a cocktail, I get a drink there.
Making deals.
Yeah, I'm making deals with myself.
Yeah.
And that's not, I think...
Might be 5 or 10 years from now when you really look at it differently.
I hope
See,
not.
I just think the journey's a long time, and everybody kind of superimposes time frames on people.
Well, it's weird. People want to moralize about other people's use of substances. It's nothing. It's just your relationship with a thing, and it's yours.
But you don't want to tie your talent to substances.
Yes.
When people do that, the substances take them down. You understand? It wasn't cocaine that made Richard Pryor. For a few years, he thought it was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Until you shed that skin.
I think I've really enjoyed sobriety and health. I've gotten a lot healthier. My blood pressure is literally, my resting heart rate is in the 50s, low 50s all the time.
Yeah.
And so, and I've been running harder. I've done, I think,
Are you
now
going to do the marathon?
11 hot yogas. I'm doing a half marathon on the 19th.
Wow.
And part of me is like, I'm enjoying this as much as I enjoy drinking, but I never had this when I was drinking as hard as I was. So I think the evolution is starting. I just don't know.
There is a mourning that goes on when you lose something like alcohol or the sense of yourself as a relation, as the person who drinks. It's really a grief.
Can I tell you?
The new you is not fully formed.
Yeah,
the old you is shedding away.
And it's a grief.
Hey,
You cannot listen to Neil Diamond and not think he's always writing about booze. Shiloh, when I was young, I used to call your name.
Yeah, but he's elegant. He's elegant, like John Kelly.
Every every Neil Diamond song I would listen to. I was gotten Neil Diamond like my first week, and I was like, "This is about alcohol."
What about song sung blue?
But it's
Franklin and Rosie, get on board.
He's
But
drunk on that one.
it's you and your relationship with that. It's both my friend, the alcohol, but it's me as the alcohol user that has to be grieved also.
Oh yeah.
You guys have a funeral to go to. I got to
we
go
have a
home
funeral
put my
to go
kids
to.
Am I going to
to
go to
bed.
this thing?
Yeah,
you gotta go. It's gonna be fun.
In 15 minutes. Pop in, go up, be like, as an addiction specialist.
No, I'm not going to stand up.
We gotta wait for the autopsy report.
Yeah.
Just Drew, just come up and open people's baby and go, guys, this is the toxicology report.
Do it, Drew.
And
Are people going to be
like,
doing stand up? I mean, is it going to be funny?
It will be after the first 3 people go up. Those 3 people I think will leave, and then it'll be funnier people will be taking charge.
Oh.
We'll see.
Is that how it works?
Hopefully, I can't.
His
get
wife and kids are going to talk, right?
I wasn't going to say that, but yeah.
Oh.
That's,
Is that? But
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
family's going to talk. And
yeah,
how do you know they're going to leave? They might
wife
want to
and
hear
kids,
people.
no, his kids are have to leave. They're 11 and
Oh, Jesus.
9.
Oh my God.
And then I'm sure Lana will take them home. But and then I'm sure comics will get up. I'm
What
not
do you
gonna
say to an 11 and 9-year-old when their dad just died?
The last words your dad texted me were I love you, nigger. That's the last thing he said, texted me.
To you?
The last text he gave me. That's the way to go out, Ralphie.
Full ER, not even an A.
Oh,
at the end?
full ER. Full ER. I love you, nigger. That was his last thing he said to me.
Oh
I looked at my
God.
thing. I looked at my text going, what was the last thing I said to Ralphie? And the last thing I was in Australia. I was having a really rough run of it. And, you know, us guys who lie to ourselves or whatever the fuck the thing is that we all got. We all have a little group that we connect with, and when we're going through rough times, we'll text and just you find each other. You know, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Ralphie was definitely one of them. There was many times Ralphie and I sat on a bed looking at each other, going, "Man, I got this shit under control. These fucking people need to fucking let go of me, like ease off." And I was like, "No shit." And we lied to each other a lot. And
You're talking about using substances.
yeah, just substances, lifestyle in general. And
Life choices and just not being healthy.
Yeah.
And I was in Australia and I was flying and working every night. So I was drinking every morning and drinking every night. Sober in the middle of the afternoon.
Yeah.
Drink,
Take a nap, eat food, and take a nap.
Not even eating. I wasn't eating. And so and I wasn't sleeping that well except after the plane flight. That was the only time I was sleeping. And Ralph texted me and said just some joke about another comedian, about how bad this other comedian was, and we started going back and forth shitting on this comedian, and then I texted him, "I love you," and he texted me, "I love you, nigger." But it was funny that was his last words to me, was the N word. It's weird that I choose to. I'll say it in his voice, what he wrote, but I won't say it.
You want to cry? Want to cry?
No, I don't cry anymore.
There's an album.
Oh yeah, I do want to cry.
There's an album that'll make you cry about friends dying that Lou Reed made called Magic and Loss. You ever heard of it?
No, I'm downloading it now.
Lou Reed's 3 best friends died in the same year. And he wrote an album about it. And in this one scene, this is before cell phones, he keeps going to the payphone across from Doc Palmas, his best friend's apartment, and calls the apartment and hears it ringing.
Oof.
And then waits for the answer machine to pick up with Doc's voice on it saying, leave a message at the tone. And because when he's walking his dog, he stops and does it. It's so
the
powerful.
album's Magic and Loss?
Yeah, it's called Magic and Loss. The greatest album about death and loss ever.
I just bought it.
You just bought it?
I just bought it. I'll be drinking to that in New Orleans on November 1st. Hey, we're going to Ralphie's funeral. Bob, Lou, Drew, Bob, Drew, thank you guys so much.
Thank you, man. I
appreciate
always
it.
love hanging out with you.
This has been a fucking blast. We got to do this again.
Right.
We got to take
this
the words
We'll do this
back.
after I start drinking again.
Yeah,
See where I'm at.
we could.
When
be
you
interesting.
start drinking again, start taking the words back.
Start taking what words back?
The words they've taken away from us.
Oh,
yeah.
Once he doesn't care anymore, let's set him up as the guy to get in trouble.
I'll use you.
Start taking the words
You'll
back.
be my puppet.
Hey, Bert, here's a word I've been wanting to say. Don't they drive you crazy?
There you go.
Oh, shit. All right. Perfect.
Your fake gun just took off.
I love you guys.
This is